my time. Don't say I never told you. Go, get out of my mind. I refuse to be your soldier. Waste my time. Don't say I never told you. Go, get out of my mind. I refuse to be your soldier. Waste my time. Don't say I never told you.
More steps toward unifying your battlegrounds experience, destructible terrain on Tago, and a new way to hide your vehicles. All this and more as we dive into the Update 35.2 patch report. First up, we're continuing to work toward unifying your battlegrounds experience. This update adds vending machines, previously a Miramar exclusive, to Erangel and Tago. You can also keep an eye out for medical vending machines that distribute first aid kits, bandages, and med kits. All these machines still have their chance at a jackpot, so test your luck when you run into one. In addition to this, Erangel is also getting Tago's destructible pots. Breaking these has a chance to give boosts, healing items, throwables, and even secret room keys. So embrace your inner Link and smash away. And speaking of destroying stuff, destructible terrain and the red zone have made their way to Tago. As before, explosives and the Panzerfaust will alter the terrain they hit, adding a bit more realism to that big, cool explosion. We've also added the pickaxe to the map for those who'd rather dig their trench a little more discreetly. For now, destruction on Tago will only affect terrain, so don't worry about the building you're in caving down on top of it. And on the topic of discreetness, you can now find vehicle camo netting on Erangel and Miramar. Deploying the camo netting to your vehicle will help it to blend in with the terrain around it, making it harder for enemies to see while obscuring tire positions. We've also toned down C4 a little by making it a deployable weapon that requires 4 seconds to set. This adds a little more risk to the reward instead of it being used as a nuclear grenade. There's also a new Survivor Pass, enhancements made to the inflatable boat, some improvements to the flare gun's UX, and lots more info about everything else we talked about. So be sure to check out the patch notes for full details. Update 35.2 is here, so pack your favorite explosives and get ready for a little light terraforming on Tago. Just make sure you hide your getaway vehicle from the other survivors. We'll see you on the battlegrounds.
Welcome to the PUBG Players Tour. This year, we're introducing structured competitive play in third-person perspective mode for players of all ranks, levels, and ability. Here's how it works in EMEA and Americas. PUBG Players Tour competition is held in 2-week phases. Each week, you and your squad can compete in player scrims. Think of these as a great alternative to ranked play. Each day of scrims will feature a variety of maps, with defined team and lobby sizes to ensure a balanced best-of-3 rounds. Teams will earn points based on their performance, and daily leaderboards will track their progress. When the scrims are over, the top teams will qualify for the PUBG Players Tour Cups, where they will be joined by up to 10 invited teams, featuring some of the best players in the region. Players Cup leaderboards will track team performances across 2 days of play, with the top 8 squads progressing to the final round of competition. Players Masters are the pinnacle of the PUBG Players Tournament. 8 teams from each of the 2 cups will engage in fierce competition for a huge prize pool in each region across the PUBG Players Tour season. And for times when a Players Masters isn't scheduled, you can still get your PUBG Players Tour fix with Super Cups. These work just like Masters events, where again, 16 teams, 8 from each of the 2 previous Players Cups, compete for a share of the total cash prize pool. Welcome to the PUBG Players Tour. You know the game. Be a player.
It is Saturday night's main event. It is the PUBG Players Cup Super Cup. It is Gibson, joined as always by the incredibly talented Chunks on the mic on the other side of the screen from me. Chunks, one day is done. Tonight, this is moving day. Saturday's the day where teams like to make big moves.
Yeah, and they're going to have to as well. Obviously, we've seen the top end of the leaderboard start to get pretty solidified, but there's still plenty of time for things to change. Any team down in the bottom with a good performance tonight can get themselves into that top 8, which is where that prize pool lies. But there are a couple of teams right now all vying for first place, and it's pretty close up there.
It always is. You know, when you've got some of the best teams in the Americas and, you know, by proxy, some of the best teams in the world in a lobby like this, you usually find teams struggle to make that gap. And how will they make that gap? Well, you play 4 games a night. Day 1 is done and dusted. We are on day 2. Miramar, Tego, Rondo, and Erangel all to go. It's, as I said, it's bite-sized PUBG. It is over the blink of an eye. And Chunks, you know, there's something special to me about finishing on Erangel. I love it whenever tournaments and play days finish on that map.
Yeah, it feels like a return home, doesn't it? It's what we're all used to. It's what anyone who's been around for a while is used to. And what these teams are going to start getting used to is the consistent prizes throughout the weeks of the Players Tour. It's going to be $1,500 up on the line for first place this evening, but anywhere in that top 8 and you're going to be in your share of the prize pool. So that is where these teams are fighting for. But again, first place, that's where it really matters tonight.
Yeah, you want to get into that top spot. You want to be there going into tomorrow, right? The closer you are to first going into tomorrow, the more chance you have of getting a big chunk of that prize pool. And as we take a little recap on how the action unfolded yesterday, Team Liquid had an incredible day fragging. 27 kills for them. But look at that, they're not too far ahead. Mira, Kudsia, Rock, Toyo, all within touching distance of that kill total.
Yeah, I mean, every team in the top kind of 5 of the leaderboard had a really strong performance yesterday, and we see that demonstrated beautifully when you look at the average survival time, the kills, the damage, all of them getting up there. So it's going to be really exciting to see whether they can keep that consistently going. We keep talking about Kawazine, don't we? And there's a reason why. 16 kills, 6 more than the second most kills yesterday. Again, let's keep that going tonight.
Yeah, and remember, he did have a huge game to finish things off. 9 kills on Erangel on the final game of the night, rocketed him into top of that kill total. And by proxy, do you know, free as I've used twice tonight already, I'm going to keep count of it. That puts them up to 45 points. 2 points ahead of Team Liquid, and then just 5 points ahead of Rock, as we have ourselves a top 3 separated by 5 points. Then it's a 5-point drop to Al Qudsi in 4th.
Absolutely, it's really tight up there right now, so any of those teams have a good performance in game number 1, they're going to be feeling really good about themselves, stretching that lead out. But Team Mirror, one thing I will say about them that I have noticed throughout the tour is their worst day typically tends to be day number 1. Now, if they continue that trend, and Saturday, Sunday is where they start picking things up, can you imagine how they're going to perform throughout the weekend? It is absolutely insane to think of. Obviously, they do have good day one performances, but it seems to feel like, especially in the Players Cups, it's the Sundays where they just go on an absolute tear. I think they won like 3 or 4 games in one night the other week.
Yeah, I think the week coming up to this one, we saw them win 3 of the 4 games. I think we spoke about it. Had you taken their day one performance out of it, they still would have won that cup. That's how good they were. And if you are a Team Mira fan, well, you're going to love the way things are kicking off, because we are going to Miramar first. And of course, you cannot spell Miramar without Mira, and they have been the kings of that map, Chunks. We've said it. Every single night we've been on, at least, I'm actually going to say this, I'd be confident in saying at least 75% plus of all the cups that we've played in that they've been involved, they have won the first map of the night. And I don't even feel like I'm exaggerating saying that.
No, and one thing we should point out again quickly before we get into Miramar, or maybe while we're getting in Miramar, is that anyone can take part in the Players Tour. That's what makes it so amazing. Now, teams have had to qualify to make it to the Super Cups. We have our Players Scrims. They go on throughout the week. You don't have to play in all of those to be able to qualify for the Players Cups. You just have to be consistent enough to get enough points throughout those Players Scrims, then you make it to the Players Cup. Then, where the initial prize pool appears is in the Players Cup. If you get to the top 8, or sometimes all the way down to the top 10, depending on which teams have already qualified, you could be taking part in this Super Cup in the next Masters. So get yourself signed up, do ! Register in chat. The only requirement is you have to be 16 years of age or older, and obviously you need 4 players to make up a squad.
Yeah, and if you're watching this going, oh man, I wish I could have been playing to get a little bit of that $5,000 prize pool, well, let me let you guys in with a secret. The next little sprint that we come into, we are getting into a $20,000 prize pool. D will land a little bit late. He hops in the passenger seat, but he's got to get out of there, Chunks. But yeah, $20,000 is the prize pool for the next Masters. Plus, each of the cups have their own individual prize pools for the top 4. To qualify, all you got to do is be good enough in a set of scrims that are on, I believe, next week and the following week to get into those cups. If you do so, you're going to be playing against the best teams in the world and battling it out for a chance to get a bit of that massive prize pool. And not only that, Chunks, you get to play against teams like Falcons, Team Liquid. If you've ever wanted to see what it's like in a lobby like this, this might be the best chance you ever get.
I think we all know what it's like, isn't it, when we get killed in a ranked game and you're bitter that you died, but at least you died to a name that you recognize. You know, everyone has that experience of, oh my god, I got killed by so-and-so streamer or this pro player. I don't feel so bad about it anymore. Maybe you can have that little experience, you know, over the next couple of weeks if you decide to take part in the Players Tour. It's really exciting being able to play against some of the best, not only in the region, but in the world. And yeah, regardless of where you are, whether you're Americas or whether you're EMEA, get yourself signed up in the respective links. It's an awesome opportunity, and it's free to enter, which is the big part.
Yeah, and I see people asking, can they take part in Europe? Yes, you can. To take part inside of EMEA, all you gotta do is go onto the official PUBG website. The sign-up link through that is there. Obviously, in the Americas, we do all of our events through the WASDify sign-up link. I believe it might be Challenger mode in EMEA, but just make sure to go to the PUBG website, find it out, and you can sign up. And guess what else, Chunks?
Fill me in.
Later on in the year, if you keep playing, we get a cross-regional event near the very end. The final Masters, at least the third last Masters of the years, will be North America versus EMEA. It is going to be a hell of a lot of fun.
That is going to be an exciting watch for sure. So if you want the chance to, maybe you are in Americas and you want the chance to take on not only the best in Americas, but the best in EMEA as well, that's the opportunity to get signed up. But look, we've talked a lot about registration. Let's take a minute to talk about this zone, because not much has happened so far. Usually by now, Team Mirror, they've wiped a squad, but that's not been the case in this Miramar game. But what has been the case is we have a very southern circle, which at the initial outset of it, Toyo were the only team inside the circle. They've got a dead center position now in the circle, but we've still got Forever and Team Casito, Team Corito making their way in. Of course, not to forget, Team 55 Esports, who are using that E-pickup, and they're going to go directly over the top of Team Liquid and LG down to the south.
Yeah, 55 Esports got to make their way south, and maybe our producers could let us know later on tonight, but I believe they're called 55 Esports because the area code, the international calling code for Brazil is +55. I might be wrong on that, but I think that's why they're called +55 Esports. A little bit of knowledge for those viewers at home. Maybe even someone in chat can tell me if I'm right on that as we watch Furia make their way through San Martin. Yeah, I've got confirmation in my ear. +55 is that is why they're called that name. But Chunks, I want to talk more about the circle whenever it does pop up on the screen, because as you said, it is very south. You've got a lot of Drumstick Island available inside the map. However, a lot of these teams are going to approach this like it's a phase 2 circle. They're going to say, hey, let's ignore that Drumstick Island, Prison, Partone, etc. It's maybe 25% chance or less that it is going to go there. So realistically, you're playing with a much smaller playing field. So you'll see Toyo, Liquid, Carito, all these teams vying for very central compounds, or at least northern central compounds, because of the likelihood they become much stronger later on.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, we keep talking about the map feed. Just to remind everyone in chat, maybe you're new around here, maybe you've forgotten, if you do !map in the chat, you can pull up the map stream on a separate monitor, or even go split screen. You can see the entire map, see what rotations these teams are making, because I think a lot of players forget about rotations, and you got to be careful with them, because Furia coming under fire on their rotation as Infinite peeks up over the hillside, catches a lot of damage onto a couple of Furia players, but he's not going to be able to convert it over to anything as they manage to pass safely for the time being. But for Adoras, this is the final set of players from Furia, so if they can isolate this vehicle, if they can pop some tires, it could be a 2v4 situation.
Yeah, and if you're watching at home and you're going, why didn't he shoot the tires there? Well, it's as simple as this. Infinite saw that there was more than one player inside that Bronco. He was by himself. He was that first player that was going to get involved in the fight. So if he pops a tire, there's a very real chance that he might lose his life, because when that vehicle spins, they're all going to start aiming his way. So he was playing for a couple of headshots, try to get that knock, and then get the kill. But Chunks, you're 100% right. You will see in other situations where players are closer by, they go for those tires, because when you've got the numbers, it is much easier to get those kills.
Team Liquid potentially at a numbers disadvantage now if Rock can thread their way between the players. Sparking, Luke 12 far over to the east as the rest of the squad further together, but look at this, Rock, he just lays prone, doesn't give anything away over towards Incheck, finally opens up on towards Vinny, but D is getting absolutely lit up. RNZ up the hillside, able to take him down. Now courtesy of losing a player after a failed ambush attempt. Cowboy lands a couple of shots over onto Selfish, finally exposes himself, and he catches the headshot onto that. Beautiful fire from Cowboy. Relo's going to be able to finish it off, and they might just be able to get D back up here.
Yeah, D's a very important player for this roster too, so you really want to get him back on his feet. I think Andrew and the rest of Njeke team, they'll move on up. RN0 is having a peek. He realizes that Relo might be going and having a look from the other side. But look at that, Relo. Oh, I think he thought he got the knock. Relo, he pulled off the ADS a little bit too soon. We're all guilty of doing it. But then we'll see Vinny eventually fall. So Njeke team under a ton of pressure. And, you know, you said it, they'll get D back on his feet. If I'm not wrong, Chunks, it's 2 minutes is the first knock bleed out time. So Al Qudsi have so much time to go for it.
Yeah, they shouldn't have a problem unless somehow Incheck are able to get a real bit of high ground to look down at this. Kraken, though, gets punished up on the high ground as Xerox over the ridge line catches him off guard. Finally, Boradora is able to take down a Furia player in return. He needs to be careful because Guzera is also sneaking up from behind. Could potentially cause a problem here. Furia are so split out. I don't think they were expecting to take a rotation fight so early on, but honestly, they were super split. It's not too surprising this has happened. A beautifully placed nade from Haven, though, in return, takes down MHP. Theros up on the top, just trying to find an angle, but Haven not giving anything away.
Yeah, I think that Gizera's got plenty of cover there, but Theros, he can take these peaks because the chances of getting knocked that quickly is pretty high, pretty low, but there is a chance Gizera might be able to get some revenge. Murillo will eat a headshot, and yeah, Gizera, simple, easy for a player like him to get a knock like that onto a Murado, driving off into the distance. Theros goes for the instant attempt at a trade, but Chunks, he's all on his own. You know, he doesn't have a jammer pack. His vehicle's nowhere. Oh no, Haven.
Oh no, Theros.
Haven is a lucky guy, because if Theros was locked in there, that was a trade back the other way.
Absolutely. Just a reminder for everyone, I've seen it asked a few times, whatever we're seeing when we're spectating these players is also what the players are seeing. So this is a TPP event, if you hadn't figured that out already. Whatever we see, like for instance, when they ADS, we're going to see that in first person. When they're using that third person, we're going to see it as well. And we're also going to see where this zone pops. I know that I want it to go down south, and it actually goes hard to the east, so potentially dangerous. Now in a really good position to get priority onto what they want.
Yeah, and you think about this circle, everything below this line is basically out of the game. So the circle becomes significantly smaller once more. So you're looking at positions like where Forever are. You see this position by Resort. Teams might look to play there. Even this ridge line where we see a couple of teams as the map will disappear, like Toyo and Liquid moving on. That gives you so much control over that circle that teams are going to be willing to fight over it. Liquid, they're hunting down Benya. A 2 versus 1 here makes it difficult. Look at this, peeking up over the ridgeline. Sparking's got to be careful as Luke will be dropped off. He's going to take on the fight with Emmy. Nade thrown towards Benya. Benya will find Kurt, but Luke, you've got to be fast. You've got to try get this kill onto Emmy. That allows you to focus a little further on, and that's exactly what Luke does, Chunks. Benya now standing for Toyo, and he falls too.
Sparking pushing around at the same time as Luke. We speak about it quite a lot. Team Liquid, they like to go with these 2-2 pushes as Halo and Purdy Curdy work together. They need to try and get the revive onto Kurt, but Capitan going down is going to make it a whole lot easier. The rest of Liquid now looking like they want to back up, protect this revive. There are teams all the way down to the south that were looking to try and third party onto this. Faravero now the final player from Toyo inside this compound on his own as Tony flips the vehicle at the worst possible time, but Kevin not able to deliver with the shots.
Yeah, Bad and Kev not able to land those shots, so he'll get on the move, and now we might see Panadorito get taken as he gets shot at, but he will stay on his feet. Bad Kev will have time now to pop a first aid, get the boosters back on, but for Forever, I think they've maybe missed a trick. By 55, rotating that a little bit earlier, you've lost the compound on the hill a little bit further south. And look at this Corrido, Chunks, who had a good start to the day yesterday. They're finding Zanganos on the rotate.
Splitting off Sequencias, the rest of the team decide to go around the other side of the compound. Could work out well for them as Corrito catching Nicholas. He goes down. The substitute player for Team Casito this evening. He will be playing all 4 games. Let's see if he's able to deliver. That's not the way he would have wanted to start the night.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to get things going that way, but Gittagod, you know, we've seen Gittagod have some big moments. Think back to Rondo yesterday, where he was able to get a couple of kills playing all by himself after the rest of the team died in that compound crash. But I think for Corrido, if they want to get on the move, today's the day you do it. This is why I keep referring to Saturday as moving day. Anybody here who watches professional golf, that's where the people make big jumps up the leaderboard is on the Saturday, and that's then you going into Sunday, you know who's got the best chance of winning. So keep an eye on which teams take advantage of the Saturday.
It's certainly the opportunity to start making those moves to correct the mistakes from day number 1 before the pressure really sets in for that final day tomorrow. As phase 2 gets ready to close in, we're going to find out how this one ends up shifting. But remember, there's still a lot of water in the circle, which has forced teams to get a lot closer than maybe they usually be comfortable with. As, yeah, for the time being, things are going to slow down, and kind of donuts, so a couple more teams gonna have to make their way in, but most squads should be happy with their current position.
Yeah, I'm looking at the only teams that I think are going to be very unhappy with that shift is going to be likes of Team Casito, like Liquid as well. You know, how many times do I get caught out? Every time I start to draw.
That's why I don't even bother. I don't even try.
Yeah, it's I'm sad now. You take over.
Yeah. It looks like right now 55 Esports, they're going to be grouping up in their compound. Still got Forever pressure in. Now, Forever in a bit of a difficult position. They are a little bit split up. They got LG on one side, 55 on the others. Team Empire start to make the most out of this high ground, trying to catch the rotation. It's hard to hit those bolt shots on the vehicle, and unfortunately, Michael's not quite able to, but he will be able to take down Kawazine, that point player for Team Mirror. But look at the third party coming in now from Alcutia. They're not just looking at Empire, though. They see Team Mirror, they see Zangarnos. They are trying to land any shot that they possibly can, but it's actually Balefrost who falls to Alo on the other side of the compound.
Yeah, that's a long-range shot from Liquid as they force their way in, but they're stuck in between Team KZito and Empire, so they need to focus on a fight the other way. So Sparking, he'll be that front line of this side again. Kurt's got an angle off to the north as he looks this direction as well. But for Team KZito, they have tons of hard cover to work with here, Chunks, so they don't need to be too aggressive, but you also have to keep your head on a swivel, because if you wait too long, Liquid will formulate the perfect plan to deal with you.
And it seems like they're already starting to implement it. You could see Kurt wrapping round far, landing some DMR shots, but it's Luke that finds the opening knock onto Bran. Alir gets spotted out on the hillside, so Liquid now going to be aware that it's probably not safe to push round to the west, but those compounds, those buildings, they can be used to break the line of sight, provide a little bit of cover. Sparking throws out the nade as Crooksy moves back to support his teammate. I think that Team Casito, they misread this read. We're expecting Liquid to flank around, and they've been caught off guard now. Nade's landing through from Alo, comes close to Crooksy, but not close enough. It's going to be Nicholas left solo inside the building as Team Liquid fully commit onto this one. Luke does get caught with a lot of damage. Kurt still trying to find the off angle, but right now it is just Nicholas lying in wait, knowing it's only a matter of time until Team Liquid push. Team Casito have to try and regroup, but Kurt's not going to make that easy for them.
Yeah, Kurt's going to hold the angle to make sure that Nicholas can't jump out. He got one, but you know, the thing is, if you throw enough players at a problem, usually you manage to deal with it. Now they're going to go for the rest. Team KZito, as you can tell, don't have any blue zone nades, or at least none close enough that they can throw on in. Kurt, he gets caught out by Alir, and Alir will confirm out that kill. So you leave Kurt on the off angle. Team KZito go, you know what? We know there's 3 players in this building. We know that Kurt's off to the north. If we're really sneaky and sneak right up on top of him, we could easily get that knock and kill. And that's exactly what they've done. And we're back to a 3 versus 3. The blue zone is here as well, Chunks, and the longer this goes on, the even more difficult these teams will find it to make it into that next circle.
Yeah, Tony managing to take down Fakes in. Mirror probably not going to be able to get the revive onto that unless they decide to fully commit onto the crash, which doesn't appear to be the case right now. Crooksy takes down Alo as Luke 12 to fall as well. Huge plays coming out on this Team Casito fight as they've been able to regain control of this compound. Only Sparking left up inside. I don't think Kurt's still in it either, as Team Liquid are second place team overall, down in 16th position.
Yeah, and 15 teams left alive, 47 players, as is the case in TPP. Lots of teams losing players early on as they rotate into the circle. Now herein lies the problem. Corrido, Toyo, Foradores, Team KZito, Zanganos, all on the west side of the circle, all need to push on in. But where can you play? You can get a group of players locked into this position, but if you get there first, all of these teams will be rotating from this direction, which are going to cause problems for you and your side. Zanganos crossing that bridge as well will have a very difficult rotate into the circle too, but Chunks back into the action. Team KZito locking horns with Corrido, and it looks like Corrido might be in a bit of trouble, and there's footage from Empire third partying.
It's going to be third-party central around this area right now because that zone is closing in, and it is a very open hillside that these squads are going to have to make their way down. Balefrost flushes out one as 4 Adoras fall. In 15th position, Team Carrizo, they're actually adjusting for a rotate here, but look at this from Faravero of Toyo, the final player left up. He's a long way from placement point, so I'd be very surprised if he doesn't at least try and get a couple of kills out of this.
Yeah, phase 4 now, 3 damage per second. Every second you stay inside the circle, your HP drops below 75, and it will not get back above it until you get inside, which makes you weak to shots like this. K Lopez will fall. Jedshot now, he jumps out. Remember, 3 damage per tick. So as he's popping this first aid, he's inviting Faravero to put even more pressure this way. The vehicle on the cusp of explosion now. Looks like Jedshot, though, he don't care. He's going to get on the move. Another couple of shots landed.
It's going to blow.
Now the vehicle, now the CUP is going to blow. And I think this is not going to end well for either of these players. Chunks, look, Jedshot down to a couple of HP, pops another first aid. But that 3 damage per second has just jumped a little bit higher.
For a minute, I thought that Aliv was going to be able to kind of hold them out, but he does get taken down by LG. The circle has shifted slightly up to the north, so teams like Al-Quds, like Empire, are going to be forced to make a move. But Jedshot, he throws out a perfectly cooked nade and takes down Faravero. Down go Toyo out in 13th. And I can't help but notice a lot of our top squads falling early on in this first Miramar game.
And it's things you like to see. You know, as I said, this is moving day. This is a chance for all of these teams on the right-hand side of the leaderboard to start making big moves. Al-Quds, they're just about on the brink of pushing in towards that top spot. They're, what, 10 points off the lead as things stand? They have 4 players up. However, they're on the very south extremity of the circle, and they've got to move through Empire and Jeke Team PD to path their way into the circle as we lose team number 12. Zanganos will fall in that position. PS5 though, Chunks. Minute and 55 till it closes. I'm looking at it. I love the position that both Furia and LG find themselves on the west and eastern side of the circle.
Absolutely, but I can't help but look at Samcro right now. He's got that Lynx, and he's waiting for Empire to be forced out of that compound. 55, they can still play the edge of theirs, but I imagine that they're going to try and move up to the north to get out, as Haven finally decides to open up onto Rock, using that high ground to his advantage. Gazira is a whole lot closer, but I don't think he has an angle on all of these players, and if he does, well, Rock certainly aren't aware of it yet. They are throwing out a smoke wall, getting ready to make themselves a bit of a move. Furia just taking this fight slowly. They know they're in the better position at the moment. Poster's going to need to group back up. There's lots of DMR shots being traded. Samcro, he's putting in work with that Lynx right now. That's 2 players from Empire falling in rapid succession to it.
Yeah, that Lynx is just a disgusting weapon in the hands of anyone in this lobby. Chest shots will do for a lot of the players. Gizera, he tosses the nade in as we get some Latam on Latam action, but Gizera's nade will fall flat. He's using the shack as some cover, but look at this. He will fall at the hands of BL. Souls, he's trying to wrap up on the other side of this fight, Chunks, but you can tell that Furia, they have an idea the push is coming this way. And oh my god, look at this Empire. 2 players are going to get knocked as well. They're finding it really tough on the south side of the circle with Punage, the last player standing.
It's going to be difficult if Empire want to make it in, but maybe as Al-Quds make a move, they could cause enough of a distraction. Haven looked for a second like he was maybe spotted out by some of those Rock players as Posse getting ready to get flashbang, tries to return some fire, but it's not going to be enough to get Gazira left in the fight. Al-Quds, though, taken out with an absolutely huge nade there from Glock. They're down in 9th position, and we've made our way into placement point territory with Haven doing his best to try and gatekeep. Pulse is just going to be forced to lay prone for the time being as he makes a move. Of course, Rock are going to try and find an angle. It looks almost like they didn't spot him, so he could do huge damage from the off angle, but he can't get the initial knock. He can't get the second either. A lot of damage being put in, but nothing getting converted as now Bizla starts to third party.
Post had too many targets in his sight. He couldn't make up his mind on which player to go for, and when something like that happens, you fall back. He doesn't get any knock off the back of it. Now, thankfully for him, he wasn't made paid just yet. However, now he is on the move. BL sees exactly where he is, and BL don't miss. Rock get their 3rd kill. Furia fall, and Rock can now path in on that eastern side of the circle, and they can get a little bit more loot to boot. This is a great spot to be in. But Chunks, look at LFP. He is in a very tough spot now outside the circle. 55 pushing this way, and 55 know exactly where he is.
Yeah, but the rest of Mirror are still alive up to the northeast. They're going to try and watch this cross now, leaving LFP in this position. The smokes are going to make it difficult and are going to allow 55 to pop up. So it's all dependent on how LFP takes this fight. Kawazine, he takes down Karax from 55 Esports. The rest of the squad, they pushed in. LFP takes down Psycho, but Samcrow's there to trade it. The BZ nade goes up, because sometimes you just got to sacrifice a teammate. Tony now, the final player left up inside this smoke. I think Kawazine has a read that he's going to be around this area, but not expecting him to land a nade that accurately, that quickly. Team Mirror now down to just a solo. They have been absolutely ripped apart. There's potentially dangerous look to get involved as well. They can't quite find an angle. Fana, he isn't going to stick the res, but he is going to stick a couple of bullets straight into Tony's head to take down 55 out in 7th place.
And LG are the support that Mira need right now. They're putting pressure on PD that prevents them for going in for the flush. That buys time for Fana to get the res onto Kawazine, and it might just allow them to play this position a little bit longer with the gear that they'll get from that crate. So Kawazine is now back on his feet. However, that support has now been forced to move as the blue zone is pushing them out of this position. But for PD, they've still got the high ground over Mira. And look, Gats just can't quite get an eye on any of those players. But all of PD making the full send. They're going for the kills, but Fana was ready. G Reborn will get wiped out, and that's another point delivery to Miramar, or to Mira on Miramar. I'm surprised PD went for a one-player send in there. I know it was kind of low risk, high reward, but Mira, they thrive on opportunities like that.
I'm not sure what the strategy there was, whether he was going to send it down the hill, the rest of the squad were going to push over, but it didn't work out how they expected. Maybe thinking Mirror were closer than they were, but that zone has come a lot closer than they would have dreamed of right now. They have themselves a ridge, which is about all that you can really play in a circle like this. The only full squad at the moment being Luminosity Gaming. They've got to make a move down to the south, but Rocker positioned perfectly to try and hold them out. I didn't even really realize Poonage was still alive, but he was all the way out on the south of the zone. 6th place for Team Empire right now, so they will be picking themselves up a couple of placement points.
Yeah, and placement points are what get you prizes. Getting into the late game will always help you in a game like PUBG. But with 5 teams left alive, 13 players, it's probably some of the closest we've been to having most teams of 4 players up. Like Rock have 3, PD have 3, Mir have got 2. LG, though, they hold a lot more cards than everyone else with 4 players up, but they're not inside the circle. And Chunks, it's been a while since I've had a circle that's finished in the spot on Miramar, and I cannot wait to see who's left alive in that final 2.
Well, it's not going to be Slump, as the final player from Forever does get taken out by Gats. He was forced to reposition with that BZ nade, which maybe just left him a little bit exposed. Team Mirror, they thought they could loot safely, but Fana gets absolutely lit up, somehow still surviving. Sold's actually third party and over onto the LG players, forcing them to drop down prone and stop the engagement. But Slabby, that's his cue to start opening up, as Solds takes a lot of damage out in the open, will be getting knocked. Slabby, though, he doesn't even look over towards Santastico, as he ends up getting knocked in return.
Yeah, Santastico, he is a phenom at times, and he finds that knock, and really that puts PD in a bad position. Now, LG, they're focusing on getting a little bit more prio on the circle. You've got Bizzler, Vox, and Gats focusing on Team Mira, and yeah, finally, PD get the off angle, and Mira will not win on Miramar for the first time in what feels like forever. And there's 3 teams left. It's a 4v3 v2, and Chunks, Rock could really take control of the leaderboard if they get the win in this map.
They absolutely could, but it's going to be difficult with only 2 players left standing. If they had a 4-man, I would absolutely be saying you need to push down to potentially dangerous to take control of this game. But that's just not a scenario that they're able to initiate right now. As the circle centers up, they will still have players in. It's going to be LG that are forced to make a bit of a move. Sure, they've got Gats, they've got Snakers, but they're in very open positions, just staying prone, using that third-person camera to try and get some info over the hillside, try and maybe get the jump on PD if they try and push. Gats is going to call in a little bit of extra cover right now to help with the push, but you got to imagine, sorry, it's Bizzler that calls in the extra cover. You got to imagine as soon as he pushes out into the open to get into the circle, Gats and Snakers, they're going to have to pop up and start firing some shots to keep potentially Dangerous's heads down.
Well, it's funny because a lot of the time you'll hear TPP players say that sometimes the low ground is better, but to me, you give the FPP player the high ground on any game mode, they're going to take advantage, and that's what PD can do from this position. Now, as you can see, Vox does manage to land a couple of nice shots, but Santa, he can see the helmet and the gun over the back of the shoulder, so he knows exactly where Vox is playing. And the problem Vox has, Chunks, is he's not inside the circle. He's got to creep his way in. He's got to move a little bit further. Rock are, in essence, the only team with any real presence inside the circle. They've got view on the high ground, and even though LG have a couple players tucked in the circle as we stand, as you can see in the map, they've got to get up over this ridgeline eventually, and then it becomes a shooting gallery.
Yeah, it's going to be a difficult one for all of these teams that aren't Rock right now, and even then, they're at a player disadvantage. At least with Rock, they don't have to make a move anytime soon. They should be pretty good in their current position, especially with how aggressive BL is. Even when we get down to that final phase, he's not going to have to make a move for quite a while. Santastico just holding this position, knowing that LG are going to have to come over this ridge sooner or later. Everyone just slowing it down. They don't want to be the first team to lose players, because as soon as a team like LG gets a knock or two, the same being said for potentially dangerous, the rest of the teams are going to start swarming.
Yeah, and you can see now Santa will pick up the shield and move a little bit closer to the circle. He's got to be careful though. PD, you can see they've got so little to work with, Chunks. Now, there is a crate that they could rock up on, and that will give them cover, and if it hasn't been looted, which it looks like it hasn't, it'll also give them a FAMAS, and why not? Slabby has just given himself a real win con in a circle like this. LG got to be careful they don't get flattened by their own deployable cover as it roads further and further down that hill. But Chunks, one good headshot from Santa, but he's got to be careful because Gats has him locked in, and BL will find the first knock.
As soon as LG started making some noise, BL knew he had to try and support his teammate. Santastico has been able to med, but he's out in the blue, going to be forced out into the open, eventually taken down by that FAMAS. Only going to be Slabby left up, running in the open for potentially dangerous. They've still got Pavam inside of that smoke, but he is completely suppressed right now. Everybody looking over in his direction as BL gets caught out, potentially dangerous, go down in third position. Rock, no vest. He's got a helmet and a dream. It's a 1 versus 3, and he's about equidistant from the center of the zone to LG, but he gets taken down too low. Gats finishes the job with a headshot, and it's Luminosity Gaming with 13 kills and the win. That is the boost that they needed. Sure, they're a strong squad, but they haven't had those massive performances like some of the others. That puts them up in the running at the top end of things.
Yeah, 23 points for them. As we said, what, 45 points was top of the leaderboard after day one. So those 23 points will rocket them up there. The big thing for me, though, Chunks, is, you know, one of the players that I spoke to before this whole event to kind of get an idea of what the players' thoughts were on the PUBG Players Tour, to get an idea of how teams were playing, was Gats. And he was saying that LG have looked at the fact that there's a significant prize pool this year, over 139,000 up for grabs in the circuit. And with them being the fact, you know, that they hadn't qualified for PGS, this was a real opportunity for them to make some money playing PUBG this year. And they've always been thereabouts. Like, they've been in most of the, you know, they've always qualified from the cups. They've been in all the kind of Masters lobbies and Super Cup lobbies that they've been so far. And they've really thrown their weight about. Like, they've been able to win maps.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the things I really like about LG as well is, you know, before I took my leave of absence from casting, all of these players that are now on LG that are definitely considered top tier players within the Americas region, they were kind of all on the come up. You know, none of them were really on those big rosters with those global events, but when you see, you know, the level that LG have gotten to, the improvements that have been made, it's beautiful to see players that were kind of young gunners for the longest time really stepping up and delivering, and they absolutely did so in that game. 23 points. Potentially dangerous, only able to get 13 out of that, but still a very strong performance considering a third place finish. With the number of kills they put down, they're going to be happy with that one.
Yeah, and Mira, though, fourth place with 9 points as well. They were top of the leaderboard, so that'll certainly rocket them up as we switch on over and have a look at the overall leaderboard. And Chunks, no surprises to me. Team Mira are still at the top, but LG are now in the fight. They're 21 points away from the very, very top of Mira, but it is a gap. Like, we are starting to see a gap open up, particularly after Al-Qudsiya.
Yeah, it's certainly getting close up there now, though, as any of those teams in the top 8 could have a strong performance and make it up to first. But now, if you're a team like Mirror, if you're a team like Rock, LG, Al-Qudsiya, it's about getting those consistent games in. You can't be dropping points now. Everyone always says try and get that kind of 4-point per game average, and then 1 or 2 wins over the next few days could really bump you up and could solidify you in first. Again, though, it's Team Mirror that always steal the show here in the Players Tour. They're the team that has to be the favourites coming into this, and I can't wait to see what they're able to do for the rest of the evening.
Well, all I'm going to say is put 4 fingers up in the air, remove 1. That's how many games we have left. That is how quick these nights go by. We're going to jump into a very quick break. When we come back, it will be the second game of the night. So we'll see you guys in a few minutes.
2,000 years long, we will never settle. Hard days, no way, we're the heavy metal. Real live main stage, tear it up, like a torch to a flame when it burns hot.
Welcome to the PUBG Players Tour. This year, we're introducing structured competitive play in third-person perspective mode for players of all ranks, levels, and ability. Here's how it works in EMEA and Americas. PUBG Players Tour competition is held in 2-week phases. Each week, you and your squad can compete in player scrims. Think of these as a great alternative to ranked play. Each day of scrims will feature a variety of maps, with defined team and lobby sizes to ensure a balanced best-of-3 rounds. Teams will earn points based on their performance, and daily leaderboards will track their progress. When the scrims are over, the top teams will qualify for the PUBG Players Tour Cups, where they will be joined by up to 10 invited teams, featuring some of the best players in the region. Players Cup leaderboards will track team performances across 2 days of play, with the top 8 squads progressing to the final round of competition. Players Masters are the pinnacle of the PUBG Players Tournament. 8 teams from each of the 2 cups will engage in fierce competition for a huge prize pool in each region across the PUBG Players Tour season. And for times when a Players Masters isn't scheduled, you can still get your PUBG Players Tour fix with Super Cups. These work just like Masters events, where again, 16 teams, 8 from each of the 2 previous Players Cups, compete for a share of the total cash prize pool. Welcome to the PUBG Players Tour. You know the game. Be a player.
Hey everyone, I said we'd be back in a few minutes and I didn't lie. So sometimes I can be trusted, isn't that right, Chunks? And one thing I will say that you can definitely bank on is this is going to be a great game coming right up as well.
Absolutely, and you know what? You can take your money to the bank if you're able to qualify for this Super Cup. Get yourself signed up using !register in chat. Anybody can take part in the Players Tour. That's the beauty of it. You just have to be 16 years of age or older. Qualify through those Players Scrims. Get yourself to the Players Cup where the initial prize pool starts. If you make it to the top 8, you can be here in the Super Cup. But if you join in the next set of Players Scrims, you could be qualifying yourself to the Masters event, which, what was it, a $20,000 prize pool? Absolutely huge, Gibson.
Yeah, as we said, $20,000. That is no little chunk of change. That is a nice little prize pool. And, you know, we're kind of glossing over the fact there's 5,000 up for grabs this weekend as well. 12 maps, $1,500 for the team that come out on top. That's not a bad return on investment of time if you're able to go ahead and get that win and get that tournament win. And right now, Team Mira are in the driving seat as we get ready to move over to Tago. A map which, Chunks, it is very easy to say has shown some massive upsets, some massive changes, and in reality, it's a map that a lot of these teams are on a very equal footing.
Yeah, it's one of those where it can be very unpredictable at times, and we've definitely seen that in the Players Tour. And another thing that we've seen a lot of is that fishing camp hot drop between Potentially Dangerous and 55 Esports, and it looks like it might be happening again here, so that's going to be an early game fight to keep an eye out on. Outside of that, doesn't look like too many hot drops going on. Forever are close to Team Casito, but they should be alright. I'm just a little bit confused about what Luke is doing. It looks like he was maybe prioritising a vehicle. He's going to group up with the rest of the team now.
Yeah, and we've seen too many players lose players early. And if I am Al-Qudsiya, I've noticed that I'm not getting hot dropped by Corrido this time, as they have dropped by Song Am.
Oh, no.
Which once again opens up the stance. Oh yeah, that's Tony getting a quick double. He gets the gun quicker, and even though Slabby had more firepower, you see those kills pop up. But Chunks, as I was saying, This is one of those hot drops where if it goes on to, oh my god, Greborn, you should not be winning that gunfight with a AK with no sight. But this fight might be over so quickly that Al-Qudsiya don't even have a chance to third party it.
No, this could be a very quick hot drop. Usually this one's been a slow burn. 55 Esports, if they had a nade, they really could have turned that one around, but they just didn't get the chance to throw one. 55, they're closing in now as Greborn going to hop on the revive, sticking it quickly. But look at this from Psycho. That could be the end of things. Down goes Greborn, only going to be Glock left up. He's got no ammo in reserve, but he's got a dream without a helmet. A couple more bullets will finish off the job, but he runs out before he's able to land the shots, and Sam Crow cleans up. That's Potentially Dangerous down in 16th position. At least they'll have 2 players alive, but if you look over on that map stream down on your mini-map, Cowboy is sending it in. He knows this squad is weakened. As Roth finally hops in the vehicle, he's going to move down here as well.
And one of the things that Cowboy is known for is the ability to capitalize on weak players because of the ability he brings to the fray. Now, Psycho is going to med up. 55 have had no chance to loot. As you can see, Psycho's got no meds. He's prone inside a building. Sam Crow, oh my god, he's on a bike, Cowboy. Look, he's in your... There you go, Cowboy. Spot him out. And there's only one player. Now, if I'm Cowboy and I've read the kill feed, you know there's one 55 Esports player left alive. The question I ask you, Chunks, is how much time and oh look, they're all chasing after him, and Cowboy's just going to keep an eye to see where the last member of 55 is. So he looks for the last player, he goes to the rest fellas. Yeah, there's a guy on a bicycle. I'm pretty sure in your vehicles you can catch him pretty quickly as long as you go the right direction.
This is a really big play from Al-Qudsiya right now. Sam Crow has been able to dip. He's managed to dodge out the way, but I mean, Al-Qudsiya, they are just circling around trying to find him. He's going to move back down to his remaining teammate, and Cowboy, surely he's going to be able to spot this one out. No, he drops down prone in a bush. I don't think Cowboy's been able to spot this. This is such a messy fight here for Al-Qudsiya. 55 Esports just running around in circles trying to hide them. They haven't even got any meds though. Psycho and Sam Crow both really low health.
Honestly, hide and seek champion 22. Oh no!
Oh no!
Sam Crow What did you move for? Rello finds the knock and we'll get the... You know, I was about to say he's the champion. Look, they're not even the first, second team out. You see Zanganos have been dealt with now as well. 14 teams left alive. It leaves Psycho as the last player standing, but... Oh, man. The eyes on Rello.
I am lost with this fight right now. I mean, I love to see it, but... Come on, Dart. Come on, D. You got this. No, they don't know where he is. So they managed to get the knock, but now they can't find him to get the flush. Oh, well. I mean... Psycho is still alive inside this compound. We can't forget that now. I'm not sure whether Alcudia think that he's moved, but I'm so confused what is going through their heads. This is one of those times where I wish we could listen to the team comms, because I bet it is going crazy right now. Psycho's got no health. He's just laying prone. Are 55 going to push in and try and finish off this final player? I'm not sure. I suspect that they think he's already left. And yeah, that's going to be the case. They all start to move away. D's going to head down to the south. They're making their rotation. Psycho has somehow survived this one.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of the fact that they don't know exactly where Psycho is. The time, you know, there's 5.5 minutes gone on the game already. And Roth has already got a compound a little closer to the center of the circle. So, or a Hillity. So what they've said is that 1 point worth hanging around for and then ruining our ability to capitalize on more points later on the game? And the answer is always going to be no. Like, unless that's a team that you're battling with at the very top of the leaderboard, you just leave it. You go find something else. Like, you've got a drop that Rello was able to get, Roth was able to grab for the team, so you can get some level 3 gear, you can get some weaponry. But I just don't think hanging around, you know, that recliner or that fishing camp compound is worth Alcudsia's time in the long run.
No, I think you're right there. I mean, don't get me wrong. When you play in PUBG and you're in your ranked games or your casual games, you see that there's a player left, you're going to commit to it. But in these kind of situations where you're playing for points, how much do you want to risk? How many positions do you want to try and have to fight for to be able to get in? Especially when you're in touching distance of first place, like Alcudia are right now. So they're going to head down into the circle. They do have to be cautious of Forever, who they're about to rotate through. And we should point out, by the way, Team Liquid, they took down Zanganos earlier, so they've already got 4 kill points on the board.
Yeah, Liquid chasing down that top spot. They're not a million miles away from Team Mira, but, well, you know, it's once this game is over, you're at the halfway point of the weekend, so opportunities to pick up points get smaller and smaller as the night goes on. But I like Liquid's positioning as things stand. Luke has got Kurt right around the center of the circle. Furia, they've got their eyes on the members of Foradores as they rotate their way through the circle, but Kraken can't find the knock, and this could be dangerous. This could be really bad for Infinite if he doesn't get that coup back on 4 wheels. And he does. And look, Theros was driving there too to give him a little bump if he didn't get back on 4 wheels to help.
You could see Murillo, though, just waiting to peek out, hoping that one of those Fioria players would be out in the open. As he slowed down, it looked like he was going to take a couple of shots, but now he's abandoned his vehicle. He can find himself in a bit of a difficult position. Fioria, with a bit of a 2-2 split going on right now, they should be able to group up if Kraken does go down, but Murillo, he's going to look to try and get that flush if he gets the knock, as Kraken keeps moving. He's just waiting to take the shots, and yeah, he's just not going to be able to land them. Murillo needs to hop back in this vehicle quick time now, make a rotation, because he is going to be at a high risk of getting knocked if he exposes himself, get over that hillside, break the line of sight, group up with the rest of the team.
I know exactly how that feels. You literally sit and line up a player for 10, 15 seconds, and you're like, stand still, please stand still. And then you're like, yeah, now's the time to fire. And you miss every single shot. Even everybody in chat has experienced that exact same thing. Roth, though, he's experienced for not the first time this weekend, and definitely not the first time ever, the feeling of shooting players out of a car as he gets himself a quick double on that one. Panadrito, though, will steal the kill onto Infinite away. But Alcudia, 2 kills on the board now. You've got the hill, and you've got some of that level 3 loot.
Alcudia looking good in their current position. It's not ideal if this zone goes down south, which is something we've seen a lot of. But Cowboy hitting a headshot over onto Slump and immediately flushing it out with the Lynx. That is ideal for them. 3 kill points on the board now. That only leaves 1 player left from Foradoras inside a compound. So maybe, just maybe, if this circle shifts over in this direction, that could be the position that they look to try and take later on in the game. Murillo has finally rotated down, so he is still going to be at risk. Can Cowboy catch him out the vehicle? Not with Theros landing shots like that.
That's just rude from Theros. Cowboy was going to give us a Lynx banger to look at, but Theros was like, not on my watch. At least not yet, as he peeks around the edge. Now, if he steps a little bit too far, he opens himself up to those shots from the Lynx as well, but I think he's made the right decision. Get out of that gunfight. With the firepower that Al-Qudsiya have, you don't want to open yourself up, particularly with just 2 players left alive. But Chunks, circle is going to shift, and I'm going to ask you, what do you see?
I see it goes straight over towards Team Mirror, so they are going to be very happy with this one, but just look at where all our squads are right now. I don't think anyone would have expected a hard shift like this, but at the end of the day, it's the Players Tour, and we're here on Tago. If there's one thing we've learned, is expect the unexpected. These circles are going to go in the least ideal position for you right now. BL going to be using that glider to try and scout out. He will call out Balefrost down to the south, so maybe Rock looking to try and avoid this position, or maybe they're just going to send it straight in. They're moving around, so it looks like actually they will try and head over the hillside rather than heading down the road where Empire could have potentially caught them with a bit of damage. As right now, I think BL is going to be a very powerful player, calling out so many rotating squads.
Yeah, BL up on, as you said, he is the UAV for his team, and we talk about this all the time. It's such low risk, high reward play. You're up in the sky. It's really difficult to shoot you out. If the glider gets shot down, you fall forever. Like, it takes so long for that thing that you can glide for essentially a kilometer or 2 to get to the position that you want to land, or at least somewhere that you see safe. Tell you where's not safe. This position that Al-Qudsiya are in right now, you've lost Roth as things stand, and Team Mira can see Rello. And as long as D doesn't close on this position, LFP should be able to get the knock. And there you go. Spots him on the bike. 2 quick taps. Down falls Rello. Al-Qudsiya go to 2.
I'm interested to see how Al-Qudsiya play this, whether they decide to go for the res. It looks like they will. So they've got an idea that Mirror, they don't have too many players over here. Only 1 player taking the shot. So D's going to pull up a little bit further behind.
Oh,
Cowboy again with the Lynx, finding the headshot. Takes down LFP, and now Mirror, they're going to have to get a revive on their own. I'm interested whether Al-Qudsiya decide to fight this one. But we'll hop on board with this LG fight right now as they catch out Nubsky. He tries to return fire, but Snakers providing that cover saves Bizzler's day. Right as the nade lands at his feet, Forever, they're committing onto this one.
Oh my god, it's like watching one of those Omaha beach landings right now for LG as they dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge their way around all this shrapnel. They find the knock onto Panadorito 2. Now, can they find the last Forever player standing? It's Big Bad Kev. He's dancing, he's bunny hopping, he reveals his position to the Bizzler, the original final boss. And let's see if the Bizzler now is able to get some help from the rest of the team. But for Kevin, it's not gone the way that Forever would have liked this weekend so far, has it?
No, it's pretty bad for Kevin right now as he's left as the solo with LG on his tail. Bizzler managed to spot him out, but just before taking shots, Gazira from Furia was able to find him and land a couple shots of his own. Furia, again, with a really wide 2-2 split. They control so much of this eastern side of the zone. They really are. I think, since seeing them return to the Players Tour, they really are confident in how they're playing. They play these wide splits. Sure, it means sometimes they get punished, but it means that teams are very limited in what they can actually play inside the zone because of how much zone and space is covered by Furia.
Yeah, and let's see which team is rewarded with the most space with a shift. And Al-Qudsiya with 3 players up, really close to center. But Chunks, look at this. This is no man's land in here towards the center of the circle because you've got 2 sets of high ground. You've got this angle looking this way, this angle looking this way. So this is no man's land. So you're looking at all these periphery spots. The edge of Songam being a position worth keeping an eye on. That Empire are playing right now is Rock, Srub, or RBN will find that opening knock. Bale will fall. Now the question is, how aggressive do they want to be? They do a little timer onto it. That kill should be confirmed onto Bale. At least you'd hope it would. And it looks like Capitan gets the knock onto Punage here as well. So two teams focusing on Empire and things starting to look really difficult for them.
Yeah, Shimboy going to go for the res over on towards Punage, but that leaves Michael out on his own. And Toyo, they're going to be sending in Panzer in hand. If they spot out Punage, that could be the end of him. And it certainly is. Capitan lands the headshot, takes down Shimboy's. The rest of Toyo decide to send in. Rock are now positioning up over in the compound, so they're going to try and hold Toyo from being able to gain this position as they use only the UAS for cover. It is getting absolutely lit up, but the smoke will bloom. And RBN being smart to move back off of this, realizing he's in a very difficult position to defend on his own, maybe just trying to grab a bit of util to throw over towards that UAS. But Toyo, they are posturing up. It looks like they want to fight. They're sending Benya a little bit further away, maybe going to try and hold an off angle, but maybe also just scouting out to find a safer position.
And you say this, Toyo might be the bigger names historically, but Rock are the team that recently returned from PGS, so they're not going to be worried about fighting against Toyo. They have grown into themselves over the last few months. Team Liquid, a team that want to regroup after a, by their standards, very poor PAS. They didn't compete internationally, but they have got their eyes set on winning this, and they've got their eyes set on qualifying to EWC in the next few weeks. You can see Alir will take a lot of damage with that nade. Alo will follow it up with another. A third one comes in on the side as Team Liquid will barrage Team KZito with nades, but not a single one finds the knock just yet, Chunks. And for Team Liquid, that's a lot of utility wasted. Well, they've not, by no means have they really lost anything here yet either. You've not got a knock, but you'd feel like in this fight, they could still do some damage to Team KZito.
Certainly is Sparkin. He's moved into the compound. It looks like the rest of the squad going to back off of this one, realizing just how difficult the push would be. They get themselves some hard cover, but don't forget this circle, they are right on the edge of it, so it's almost bound to shift away from them. Sparkin just using this wall for cover, trying to find an angle onto any of those Team Casito players, which just isn't happening. And actually, Team Liquid, they're not committing to the compound. They are getting one step ahead, and they're going to need to move 2 or 3 steps further to make it to this circle as it shifts all the way over to the east. Al-Qudsiyah and in check, looking really strong. Team Carito down on the south, they're going to be forced to try and gatekeep squads like Toyo, maybe even Rock as they make their rotate in.
Yeah, Foradora is by the construction site. They've got, plenty to work with. I think, though, with only 2 players up, they could be at a risk. Toyo will make a play to be the first team up on top of that high ground that looks over the no man's land. But Njeke team, with the only real compound inside the circle, are feeling pretty good about themselves. However, that knock from Furia changes perspective. Haven will get on the move. Now, if you have the mini-map up, you'll see what's happening. But Njeke team have sustained a knock, and now Furia are pushing the compound off the back of it.
Yeah, they are fully committing onto it. What? Kevin, he wasn't spotted out. Don't forget, this is the team that had previously pressured Kevin and forced him into this position. They weren't able to see him, so he's going to narrowly survive. Posse, though, not facing the same fate as RNZ, gets an opening knock over onto the first Furia player to make the crash. Haven, he's actually looped around from the compound, backs off of this one. RNZ looking like he wants to try and make a move away from here, but with how close Kraken is, it's going to be difficult. He's going to have to try and defend on his own until his team are able to get closer to provide some support. But LG, they're on the other side of this compound. Al-Qudsiyah, they're moving in as well. Kraken lands the nade over onto RNZ as Rock finally taking the fight up against Toyo. But Purdy Curdy, he's switched his attention. They're taking a scrap up against Team Casito right now. Everyone being forced to play for such little position. And LG, they are just keeping their heads down, not making a sound on this fight.
It is an auction for this compound, and to the highest bidder will go the spot. Al-Qudsiyah looking to make moves late on the back of this one, but look at this Toyo on the other side of the circle in a battle alongside Team Liquid against Team KZito. Kurt will get a kill confirmed. Capitan, though, will, as a return, find the knock and flush onto Kurt. as Team Liquid are all down to Luke. Bran, he'll look to step around the other side, dancing around the smoke. I think Luke 12 is just about spotted him out, but that is Luke 12's nade that will find that knock onto Bran. Needs to dodge the vehicles. It flips over and falls at his feet. And now you've got Nicholas still alive just on the other side of this one as he, he's using a can as a scope, and why not? We've all done it. Or have we? That's the question, as Luke will spot him out. He's inside the blue. He confirms out his kill. He's realized he's probably getting nothing off this. He's going to go down to the blue. Team Liquid fall in 14th place. 13 teams left alive. And Toyo come to reap the rewards from that fight a little bit earlier.
Look at this, though. LG, they kept their heads down. They didn't make any noise. Fury and Incheck weren't aware of them, but it seems like Al Courtiers certainly were, as they found themselves an opening knock, flushing out Vox as well. LG realizing they're in a difficult position, as Andrew popping out the 4x on the S12K. I'm sure you're familiar with that one, Gibson. Nicely done, but unfortunately not going to be able to survive, as Mirror, they third party as well. LG now down to just a duo.
And Chunks, look at this. The circle is shifted away from the compound, so Al-Qudsiya no longer need to fight. They can sit and wait while Team LG battle with Furia, and then as that team is retreating back into the circle, that's when Al-Qudsiya can strike. Now, Mira, they might be tempted to look over this from that north side of the circle as they look to clear a path into the circle for themselves, so it's all worth noting which domino falls first. And I think LG, with two players up, they should get a knock, Chunk. Maybe two. Like, even if they go down here, the players that they have up should do enough damage onto Furia, but Furia are bugging out. I think Furia, this is clever, right? I actually like it. You know that LG are here. You know there's another team. Do you want to throw your game, or do you want to prepare the cavalry and rotate into the circle from another angle?
Yeah, I think it's a good shout to try and get away from this one. There are a bunch of crates down to the southwest, by the way. That could actually be used for cover if they can't find any decent position. And it looks like they are just going to post up on the hillside instead. Now, Toyo, they managed to get themselves a knock as Team Corito start to close in up this hillside. They're going to try and make the most of that player advantage. Of course, Michael, by the way, out as a solo in the blue over to the west. Could try and sneak up, do a little bit of damage, just as Psycho is going to try to do. Kevin, he finishes off LFP for Team Mirror. But right now, Toyo, they are just posturing up to defend this position.
11 teams alive inside phase 5. Jedshot will find some damage onto Faravero as the solo battle of the solos will end with Psycho winning over on the other side of the circle. Richie with a great nade on top of Faravero will drop Toyo to 3. Get a God will move, but Emi can't find the knock at the first time of asking, and Capitan will need to hold the flank, but he saw something he didn't like. He realized his position was a little compromised and not quite what he would have liked, so he will rotate back up to the higher ground because he knows that Emi is going for the res. Chunks, but another good nade as Get a God will find Faravero for the second time.
Zero trying his best to remain in it. Same being said for Snakers right now, as he is pinched between two strong squads. Capitan looks like he spotted out Jedshot, didn't take the shots. He hasn't got many bullets in reserve, but he doesn't need them because he finishes off Jedshot in the first clip. Now looking to find the rest of the Corito players, spots out one behind the shield, but every bullet is one less that you're able to use later on in the game. The pans are used to take down Richie as Luminosity fall out in ninth. Corito, they made it into placement, but they are using their nade for all it's worth right now. Emmy going to be forced off of the cover, but Corito, they are not able to capitalize. Toyo being cautious. They've spotted out Psycho, but they know right now he's not in a position to fight. More ammo being used by Toyo, which is something that has become a precious resource for them. Gittagod finds a knock over onto Capitan. Only 2 players left up. Make it 1 as Faravero caught with the headshot. Only Emmy left up. Time to make a final stand, but he has no nades, which would be the difference maker in this position.
Yeah, and the smoke has been thrown, but Emmy can't really go for the res. He jumps up on top of the smoke and he sprays down, but Emmy will not find it, but he realized that K Lopez is below. He knows where he is relative to the smoke.
It's not
and
reloaded.
K is going to close the gap, but he's only got 32 bullets left to work with here as well, Chunks. Footsteps will be heard. Emmy, he's right beside you. Emmy spots him out. Emmy gets the knock and it's a 1v1. 2 HP in a dream. K, just spray. Just spray into the smoke, K. Toyo, he's in the middle of the smoke, but you've let him get away with it. A spray finds a little bit more damage. Emmy will confirm the kill, but Corrido will win the battle. But that in doing so may have lost them the ward. Chunks, 5 teams, 10 players, an average of 2 players up for every single side, and Mira so far the strongest with 3 players alive.
Alcudia, they made the crash. I think they came out on top of it as they have 7 kills on the board. I think it was Furia that they crashed onto during that previous fight. So they're now 3 players strong, 7 kills to go with it. They've got themselves a rock, and they are going to be aware that Foradoras are around this position. Probably going to look to try and use those BZ nades to force their rocks out of that position, but it is just a little bit short for the time being. Murillo using that smoke for cover, trying to find anything inside of a barren area of the map as Alcudia provide pressure. K Lopez going to move down the hill in the vehicle, the final player left up for Carito, now well inside of the circle. The only player that isn't right now is Bad Kevin from Forever, all the way up on the northwest, with Team Mirror looking in his direction.
Yeah, and here comes the move. Rello uses the rock, steps up again. Murillo will be the next one surely to fall, and he is. Alcudia hit 9 kills in their battle to regain top spot. Now, they will have the chance to go for the res because Mira are too far away, and Mira will manage to see that kill on to Forever. So it's a 3v3v1 now. Alcudia back up, but Chunks, look in front of Mira. What do you see? There is a rock and a vehicle, and that is about it inside the circle. This is so open that deployable cover and vehicles are now worth their weight in gold. If Mira can get to this rock first and lock it down and use it for some cover, they could take massive strides towards winning this map.
Look at all those crates that have just landed in as well, though. They could potentially try and use those for covers. K Lopez throws out a BZ nade, maybe expecting Mirror to try and make a crash, but that is not the case right now. Throws down a smoke for a little bit of extra safety, but Kawazine, he's had his attention drawn in this direction. D also making a push. It looks like Alcudia, they want to try and take this high ground. Seat swapping in the vehicle. They've not spotted out the player, but they know he's got to be inside this smoke somewhere, spraying through. A second smoke lands, and it's actually the vehicle that does the damage. He's in the car! He's hopped in the vehicle with him! He gets the knock over on towards D. It's only Retlo left up, but it's actually Fana in the end who gets himself the kill. Big brain plays from K Lopez, just not quite working out in the end.
Oh my word. And do Mira push off the back of it? That's the question. The quick answer is no. Rello with one cowboy with 1 bullet left inside the links, and he hits it. Hits the headshot of Kawazini. He had 1 chance, 1 shot, 1 opportunity, and he didn't let it slip. 3 versus 2 now. Fana popping the tires, trying to find damage onto the players, realizing that the other 2 members of Alcudia are in this position, but all Cowboy has is an AR at this point, and that might be all he needs. He lands a little bit of damage, and D delivers for his side once more. There's 1 member of Mira left standing. It's Fana, way off in the distance, that he might be about to deny Chunks. It might be the smart thing to do, and that's exactly what happens. Winner, winner, chicken dinner, 21 points for Alcudia, and they are closing that gap to Mira.
Well, that is absolutely huge from Alcudia, 21 points. Is that going to put them into first? We will have to take a look in a couple of minutes. But first, let's take a look back over at those highlights, because I am praying that play from K Lopez was in there. That was absolutely amazing. I just wish he would have been able to make something more out of it. The 55 Esports fight, that was a messy one early on. It looked like they were going to have the advantage, but Glock putting in absolute work as the final player left up.
Yeah, that was it really ruined both teams' games, and they've been hot dropping on this map. Now, it's not as if you're hot dropping in a 6-map night on a map like Erangel or Miramar where it's happening twice. So you are really only losing 1 map, and I know that there's a long con here, a plan to win this game for further Masters events and to try qualify and hold it for regionals, for internationals, but We just got to see how it continues to work out. But there we go. Look at that. Look at that from Cowboy. He had one chance. He was out in the open. He was dead to rights, and he hit the shot when it mattered most.
Yeah, absolutely huge play from Alcudia to get themselves the win and get themselves 21 points. It isn't actually Mirror who gets second place because Toyo were just so dominant in terms of putting out kills. They managed to get 12 points themselves. I can't help but notice just how many of our top teams are consistently getting up there. This gap at the top end of the leaderboard is just going to grow and grow at this rate.
Yeah, and this is what you usually see now. This is moving day. I keep saying it. This is the day where teams will make the biggest moves. Mira still on top spot because once more they're getting into the final four. They're finding kills to go with it, and that allows them to keep that gap. Now, Alcudia have shrunk it to 3. Then you've got an 8-point fall off to Team Liquid, 9 to Rock, and then you really start seeing teams fall away from that spot of Toyo. But as we've just seen, Chunks, Toyo, LG, Furia, Rock, all capable of winning maps. And if they do so on the next one, they're right back up at the top as well.
Yeah, only time will tell, I guess. Look, we're halfway through the evening, which means that we're now halfway through the Super Cup. Game 6 of 12 is over. There are 2 more left, but before that, we're going to take a very short break. We will be back in just a couple of minutes.
More steps toward unifying your battlegrounds experience, destructible terrain on Tago, and a new way to hide your vehicles. All this and more as we dive into the Update 35.2 patch report. First up, we're continuing to work toward unifying your battlegrounds experience. This update adds vending machines, previously a Miramar exclusive, to Erangel and Tago. You can also keep an eye out for medical vending machines that distribute first aid kits, bandages, and med kits. All these machines still have their chance at a jackpot, so test your luck when you run into one. In addition to this, Erangel is also getting Tago's destructible pots. Breaking these has a chance to give boosts, healing items, throwables, and even secret room keys. So embrace your inner Link and smash away. And speaking of destroying stuff, destructible terrain and the red zone have made their way to Tago. As before, explosives and the Panzerfaust will alter the terrain they hit, adding a bit more realism to that big, cool explosion. We've also added the pickaxe to the map for those who'd rather dig their trench a little more discreetly. For now, destruction on Tago will only affect terrain, so don't worry about the building you're in caving down on top of it. And on the topic of discreetness, you can now find vehicle camo netting on Erangel and Miramar. Deploying the camo netting to your vehicle will help it to blend in with the terrain around it, making it harder for enemies to see while obscuring tire positions. We've also toned down C4 a little by making it a deployable weapon that requires 4 seconds to set. This adds a little more risk to the reward instead of it being used as a nuclear grenade. There's also a new Survivor Pass, enhancements made to the inflatable boat, some improvements to the flare gun's UX, and lots more info about everything else we talked about. So be sure to check out the patch notes for full details. Update 35.2 is here, so pack your favorite explosives and get ready for a little light terraforming on Tago. Just make sure you hide your getaway vehicle from the other survivors. We'll see you on the battlegrounds.
Every time I close my eyes, every time I close my eyes.
Welcome back in, everyone. And yes, someone did say I changed my voice, Chunks. I changed my voice significantly when I'm on broadcast. I have a broadcast voice because if I was to talk like I do every day, nobody would have a clue what I'm saying now, would they?
No, we got to keep it simple for the Americans, don't we? They can't understand accents all too well.
Don't you come at my region, Chunks. Don't you come at my region.
Hey, you haven't heard me off broadcast either, so you never know, all right? We're just as bad as each other. But either way, look, game 2 is down. We've still got 2 more to go this evening. But before we get into our Rondo map, this is just your pre-game reminder that you can take part in the Players Tour by doing !register in chat. Get yourself the teams together. Get in those players scrims. Sure, you might not qualify for the Players Cup right away, but get that practice and maybe you will be in the next Masters competing for that $20,000 prize pool. But we're moving on too fast because we're still only halfway through this weekend Super Cup.
Yeah, halfway through the Super Cup because, of course, this is exactly the halfway point. The number of maps gets smaller and smaller. From this point on, we are in the final stretch. But, Tear, we got a little bit of Rondo to go. And honestly, the circles we've had lately, Chunks, we've had a couple up by Stadium. We've had the majority, though, have been a little more southern focused, you know, down around Tin Long and south of Danqing is where a lot of the circles have gone lately. And I'm curious as to how, if any teams will adapt their playstyle based on how we've seen it. Like, so many times already in those circles, we have seen Empire capitalize and third-party teams in and around Tin Long.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the circles that I've seen quite a lot of is up by Stadium, and especially that northern area across the river from it, where it's just super barren. It's been a really interesting watch for sure. So we'll have to wait and see where Circle 1 pops, but it looks like we've got a hot drop over at Jiao Tin.
Yeah, hot drops underway. Jiao Tin, Zanganos dropping with Forever as those two teams look to really kickstart what's left of their weekend. Zanganos, of course, first real time seeing them in action over the sprint. They took part and qualified on the first cup. They played the second cup for a little bit of experience, and now they're playing in the finals. You'll see JMS get out of there, not getting involved in that fight with Panadorito, knowing that he was pretty close by. But I'm going to say it. I really hope that Zanganos stick at it. You know, they've had some nice individual plays. Yes, they're not getting onto the left side of the leaderboard all too often, but they've got friends watching, they've got family watching. You see them getting involved in chat whenever they die inside games, and I just want to see them get more involved. Like, seeing new people join the community and getting to know these players is one of my favorite things about casting.
Absolutely. That's the beauty of the Players Tour as well. We're seeing a lot of players that we haven't seen before that are really showing up. I mean, Kawazine, I think, is a really good example. He is absolutely insane. And seeing him in an event that he's actually able to take part in, he is one that's he's gonna be one to watch over the next couple of years for sure, at the PAS, at maybe even the global level, depending on how the team are able to perform. So we will keep an eye on that one. Now, we didn't talk about it too much, but we've seen a lot of those Southern Circles, and we are seeing another one right now. Rock and Empire, as well as maybe even Mirror, in really good position to make something out of this zone. Remember, do exclamation point map in chat if you want to be able to pull up that map stream.
Yeah, the map, of course, is available to everybody at home if they want to watch it. As I always say, I like to do, get the map stream up on my phone, get the main game up on my TV, lie down, relax, enjoy. If, of course, you're by your PC and you don't have 2 monitors, get a second monitor just for the map stream alone. Why not, Chunks? Let's do it right there. Well, while you spoke about that circle, Rock are in a fantastic position inside Hongshun. They've got 2 players down there in Santastico and BL. You'd imagine that Souls and RBN will hold the compound a little bit north of that. And they'll just wait and see what happens as the circles progress later on to the game, because it's something that I think a lot of the players at home and a lot of viewers at home can maybe take advantage of. Even if you've got 4 players and you're in a stack, you don't need to keep everybody together at all times. If you feel confident in your ability to hold 2 compounds, play a 2-2 split, see which compound is better as the circles progress later on to the game, and then collapse onto the one that gives you the better chance of winning. Or if you really want to play with a little bit of something different, Chunks, you go for a sneaky 3-1 on a map like Rondo, where 3 players lock down a compound and then you have another, your third or your fourth player playing off on an angle somewhere off in the distance, scouting for your team, and being an opener if there's any engagements.
It's all about that risk reward, though, isn't it? As Pandarito, he takes a big risk and he gets the reward as Sequencia not able to finish off the job. So Forever going to get themselves the opening knock, and they're going to have a player out kind of lurking around, just like you mentioned, that could potentially catch the rest of Zangarnos in a bit of an off angle. Nubsky, he's using that third person, will have spotted out Viri as he goes to close the door. He peeks out, gets the spray, takes him down. Zangarnos in real trouble now. Effa's able to return a little bit of fire, but he is pinned down and he is low health. The spray comes out with the SMG, but it can't find the shots, and Efes has now been able to pop the med. He's going to need to pop a new one if he makes it out of this one, as Slump finishes off the job, and Zangarnos in real trouble.
One player left alive, and that's JMS, and he's already bailed out of there. He's nowhere near this fight for this point on. Yeah, get off the map, JMS. I know exactly what you were doing there. You were you were in the car. You weren't reading your phone because obviously that's dangerous. You should never, ever do that, and it's also highly illegal. He was looking at the map, trying to work out where he could play, and you got to watch out for those rocks sometimes. But Chunks, while all that fight was going on and we saw Forever picking up the first few points of the game, you've got a team in 55 Esports. They've already e-picked in towards the center of the circle. They're probably going to have a landing in and around Renjiang. That'll give them the chance to find a vehicle for themselves a little bit later on. And Mira, they've not really gone for the 2-2 split I would have thought. They're playing, they've left Tin Long. They've got 2 players south of Toyo, and then the other 2 players, Fana and Fakeson. They're a lot closer to where Rock are in the center of the circle.
Yeah, Empire, they had a really strong position to start out this circle, but they haven't really moved out of it. They were over, actually, where 55 are currently dropping. It looks like they've decided to go for a bit of a crossroads compound. I wouldn't say this has the best lines of sight in terms of going forward into the next zone, but we've seen a lot of hard shifts tonight, so it really wouldn't surprise me if this pulls down to the south again and they end up in the priority position going into phase number 2.
Haven here for Furia, pushing up the ridgeline. He's got ears on, at least, that rotate from Zanganos, as the last player, JMS, will just look for somewhere to play. Now, the thing is, as a solo, you're really looking for the rattiest position that you can get yourself in, that you don't feel like anybody is going to push. But his problem is he's getting a little too close to Furia for my liking. Kraken, one spot. The only thing I will say is Kraken. Oh, he sees him. He knows. Oh, this is going to be so bad here. JMS is rolling so slowly as well. And if Kraken can just get the angle, he'll go for the knock. But wait, where's he going? Oh, no, he's sending it for the building. Yeah, Kraken's on his way. This is going to end badly.
Yeah, you got to imagine so. JMS isn't going to have a clue about any of these Furia players, but oh, he pulls up just behind inside the compound. He might not be able to find the angle. He's certainly trying to. JMS has somehow managed to survive this one without Furia taking a shot. You got to imagine if they did, he would be in trouble. But right now, he's not going to be aware of where these players are. It looks like Furia, they know it's only a solo. They're preparing for a crash.
Yeah, Kraken will put some damage onto JMS. That'll force him inside. And here comes Posa and Haven. They're actually going 3-man. They're taking no risks here on JMS pulling off a miracle play. Kraken will make sure JMS doesn't wrap around the side. The rest of Furia, they're going to deal with him. So that's a point on the board. And, you know, sometimes you'll see teams send 2 players in, but Furia were taking 0 chances whatsoever. They were like, yes, he might knock 1, he might knock a 2nd, but as a solo, in the open, he is never getting a 3rd. So clever from Furia. And because they weren't really holding a compound by themselves, Chunks, and because they weren't in the center of the circle, that's a move they could afford to do as well.
Capitan gonna try and find himself some shots onto in check. It's long range. They ended up heading straight into Hung Shan. So Rock, they're going to be posted up. They're going to hear this. I don't think they're going to really be able to strike on it right now. Solds might be able to find an angle onto one of these players, but I don't think it's going to be enough to get themselves any kill points. I would expect that Rock were planning on somebody crashing them at some point, but maybe not so early inside of phase 1, because well, a lot of the time what you see is when players send it over into a city, it's all well and good having that hard cover, but the rotate out of it becomes so brutal.
Well, Hong Shun is essentially a kill box, right? You've got 2 buildings on the entryway point on all 4 all 4 roads in and out, which means that you play a 2-2, and if anybody tries to go through that road, it should be a knock and a flush for players of this caliber. So Rock will play there. They'll feed that information. They'll keep an eye on what's going on. But I think for them, they've got to be very wary of the fact that Njeke team are pretty close by. And PD have spotted out Furia, as well as Kraken was doing some scouting. Gizera's rocking around. But PD with a 2-2 split as well. I think they're safe for now. Like, I can never say a team won't do it, but I'd be surprised if with the position Furia have right now that they would crash one of those 2s at this point in the game. But I think that maybe that shift might have just made up their mind.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they're currently inside the circle. They're coming under pressure from LG up to the north. So for the time being, it might be a case of either group up and try and return fire, or you just keep rotating depending on cover, which seemingly they haven't got any. So yeah, they're going to hop in the vehicles. They're going to make a move. And it looks like Guzera is going to play point on this crash if it happens. But at the same time, potentially dangerous. They are grouping up as a 4-man on this compound. So if Furia decide to crash, it will be a messy one. LG, they barely just got into the play zone, and now they are having to scout out for a whole new position. At least it's better than Team Casito, who is still out in the blue, and Poonage again is up in that glider scouting out. He's done it so much recently, and it's really works out well for Empire.
Yeah, it's one of the things Empire have brought into their game that I'm a big fan of, is the ability to scout the map and use that information to get a lot of value out of it. Empire, of course, finished off yesterday pretty strong with a win on this map in particular, so they'll be looking to double down and make this their map. Roth, they're in a bit of a split, a 3-1 split for Al-Qudsiya, so he's just making noise so nobody will decide to crash his position. And we spoke about this being a dangerous position for some teams to move into. Foradoras are rocking up into it, and here we go. Souls with a Panzer. The nade is good towards Murillo. That should do a little bit of damage, but he gets behind the wall. And there's Theros finding the knock onto BL Chunks, but Souls will land a headshot and force him back into cover. And there you go. Rock deal with it. Hong Shun held by Rock for now. And Njeke team, if they saw another knock, if BL and Souls, for example, had to be knocked, you know Njeke team were third party in that.
Yeah, that was a massive defense there from Rock. Such a strong position to hold on to, and defending it with ease. They do lose a knock, but that's not going to be a problem, so they can quickly get him back up. Samcro, if the smokes are up, you can't shoot the heads. Pop those tires, make the rotate difficult, because forever they are out in no man's land right now. They really don't have much to work with, so these vehicles are very important for them to actually be able to rotate out, just as Luke 12. He could be very important for Team Liquid right now as Corito start to surround him. It looks like Sparking potentially going to try and get some cover in fire. The rest of Liquid not really in a position to try and respond though.
Yeah, but laid back Luke will get that knock onto Jedshot as he finds the quick knock and flush, and Team Corito are not in a position to take advantage of it right now. So Luke will continue to hold his position. That knock allows Alo and Kurt to reposition themselves, and Corito won out of there. And I am going to say this right now. They saw the kill feed, they saw the name Team Liquid, and they said, yeah, we don't want any of that smoke. We're moving away from this position and finding another way in. As another team looking to find their way in is LG and Team KZito, and LG draw first blood.
Team Casito still with a player off to the side. It's going to be Bran, and he takes down Vox. Return fire looking to be found by Gats, but for the time being, he just gets Vox on his back, decides to carry him into the zone. Snakers should have an angle up that hill, but he's not going to be able to spot Nicholas, as now it's all onto the Bizzler to try and find this one before Team Casito get too close. Nicholas is going to be playing as a bit of a solo right now, and he is going to get punished for for it as Bizler finds him with the headshot, finishes off the job. First kill on the board for LG. And Team Casito, how do they approach this? Certainly, they shouldn't be running out in the open like that as Cruxy gets caught down. Beautifully done from Bizler. Live really far away from his teammate. I think that Team Casito might be in trouble here.
That's what you call taking care of business there, though, as he hits those quick couple of shots onto Cruxy. Alirv, he wants the res. He steps up out of the smoke, but look at this. He hits a nice headshot. 96 damage found onto Richie. And he'll have to dip into cover for now as the rest of Team KZito are going to arrive. And Gats, realizing that Bran is trying to provide... So Bran is here, so the res can occur. So that's why Gats has got to deal with Bran as quickly as possible. You see that there's a sawn-off shotgun in the hands of Bran, and Bran will find that first knock, so he's doing his job to perfection. Bizzer, though, trades that one back, so they know that Ali will probably have that res on the Cruxy secured, and Bizler will have time to get back on his feet as well. So LG are playing the little game of chess here. They're going to reposition as they go into the blue. Chunks, this is phase 3. You don't want to... Oh my god, that is such good bait and switch play right there. Snakers, red, KZito like a book.
Really smart play from LG. Casito, I don't know what that play was. That was disappointing from them. They were just completely out in the open trying to take a fight that they were so disadvantaged with. I don't think it's any surprise that they go down there. But again, really smart play from LG to force those players out into the open. As Al-Qudzian out, they're going to try and force some pressure over towards Furia. They managed to get the revive, hopping in the vehicle, but Roth is waiting. They know that Haven's vehicle is down there, and the nade is just a little bit far. Shots actually raining in over from the east. It's potentially dangerous with the third party that could be causing some danger for Roth.
I casted a circle that finished in this exact spot, and I can't remember if it was in the Players Tour or if it was in PAS, because I've casted that much PUBG lately. But I think it was Al-Qudzian that did play this exact position. I think maybe it was the Players Tour, Chunks. Wasn't it me and you on the mic for it, as they were able to use that high ground to try get a winner, or maybe I was casting with Cami on PS. As I said, my memory's a bit foggy, because it is 2 a.m. here in Europe for you and I. But, I'm looking elsewhere. Liquid of the South, essentially all to themselves. They're firing towards Empire and Mira, but there's nobody that's going to backstab them. Like, as it stands, I think most of these teams are not going to be in any close range fights for now. Oh my.
Never mind.
That shift. How many teams have just been done by that shift?
Most of them. I mean, everyone is going to have to send it in now. Hungshan, we spoke about it being kind of a kill box. I think that is definitely going to be the case, especially if a squad like LG, PD, even Furia decides to make a push into this building. They are going to be in real trouble. Glock looking out to try and find an angle over onto LG, but it's Haven who opens things up. Taking down Voxic, nearly did some damage over onto Gats. They try and confirm themselves the flush as Gazira now starting to get involved, expecting a player to jump out of that vehicle, but he ends up tagging Snakers up big time instead. One more bullet on Snakers. That'll be another player now falling for LG, as they're going to be forced to send it straight over towards Forever, who haven't made a single sound. They've been in this position a while. Now could be the opportunity to get some points out of it.
Yeah, rotation roulette really begins as teams spin that wheel and hope that wherever it sticks and lands on for them, it's a position they can find some joy out of. But remember, there's more than one player at the table, and all of these teams on the north are trying to just eke a path into the circle. LG with 3 players up have gotten in, but you can see damage being dealt by Furia still, but it's Nobski that finds the knock. A drive by Nobski with a second one as he takes down Snakers and Gats, and Forever are now up on to 5 kills. But look at that, Bretterborn on the other side of the circle. He pushes in as Furia will find that knock onto the position. Slabby down, but not out just yet as well. And this is all going wrong. It almost seems, Chunks, like the earlier you move, the worse things get.
Yeah, it's one of those zones, isn't it, where there's so little space. Whoever makes the send is just caught up by those teams in those power positions. As Furia, they try and take this position from Al-Qudsiya. Haven has not been able to regroup with his team in quite a while, and Al-Qudsiya, they've still got nades to try and work with. They're still trying to connect, and they do, but it's not enough to get the knock just yet. Maybe this underhand from Roth will be enough to finish the job, but it's just a bit short.
Yeah, and Roth will move further forward inside the circle. Rello is at the ready, but it is time to bug out for Al-Qudsiya now as they begin their pathing. Now, the thing that they can work with is they can go all the way around this western side of the circle as they look for a path in. And that busted tire is going to cause a little bit of a problem for them as they can't quite get to full speed, but 3 wheels is certainly better than 2.
It certainly is, but Al-Qudsiya, they've only got 1 rock to deal with. Rello's trying to split up, go for a position of his own as the circle getting ready to pop. Again, Furia in a very difficult position. I'm not sure how they're going to approach this one. Rello spots out one of the forever players as Pandorito will go down. Circle relatively central. Empire potentially going to have to try and defend a crash now from 55 Esports as you see Tony starting to get aggressive over on the map.
Yeah, Tony doing his best to get some more points on the board for his team as Furia will fall at the hands of Toyo. You can see Slump dealing some damage onto Cowboy now, but he tries to wrangle up a little bit of damage from himself. Forever will get eliminated. And then there was 11. 34 players to go and potentially dangerous going to front up against Al-Qudsiya as things stand, but Roth on the high ground will get shut down as Glock will find some damage onto him, but he can't go for the flush just yet. Good nade from Cowboy, but it's going to actually be friendly fire. Michael will capitalize as he finds a knock, and it's Pavam from the side who takes down that knock, and it's D and Rello as the last 2 players standing, and this nade, Chunks, if it's thrown right, could spread real trouble here for Al-Qudsiya.
Rello playing that point position right now, trying to find an opening, but he's being lit up from the side angle. Toyo, they've also crashed over to a similar position, so they could start getting involved onto this fight. Only Pavam left up inside of this smoke, just trying to get some boosts, get some util, but there is barely any to be found. Out goes the nade, it's close to Rello, catches a little bit of damage, but Al-Qudsiya, they've managed to get the revive. They're back up to a 3-man now, waiting for those smokes to dissipate, starting to flex out a little bit. D sends out the flashbang, but it's a little too far away. Pavam, he's moved behind all 3 vehicles. The nades are landing in just the wrong position. So many teams looking to get involved as now Toyo, they're flexing over. Capitan, he throws out the nade. It's a bit of a red zone, but Al-Qudsiya have already made the move. Now Rello plays point as Toyo closing in, but they haven't got the read. As soon as one of these Al-Qudsiya players starts taking shots, you got to imagine that Toyo decide to strike.
Yeah, Toyo will be looking to roll up onto this fight as they look to get a grip inside of the game as well. But Rello will be at the front. Pavam will go from car to car, but the flames will provide some cover for Rello as Rello will find that knock, and do Toyo now close the gap? We'll find out soon because Empire are in a battle of their own. Chunks over by the other side. They fight with 55, and look at Luke 12. He is finding arm shots from afar, providing Empire with the help that they might need to get a couple more points. Sam Crow moving up on top of the vehicle. If he can get up on the blue box, he might just be able to see over the wall and spot out exactly where Shinboy and Michael are standing. But Kerat Chunks, he sees it. Oh my god, that's a great molly. But look, here comes Kurt. Here comes Kurt. Quarterback Kurt tosses the nade up over the ridge line, and he manages to secure a kill on the Psycho.
Michael prepping a frag grenade of his own over towards Sam Crow, narrowly avoids being shot. The nade, it's just a little bit far. Shinboy, Michael playing for the trades. They take down 55 Esports just behind Al-Qudsiya, who got eliminated when Toyo decided to push onto their position, but they've got to make a move of their own. Luke 12, he's regrouping, Purdy Curdy regrouping with the rest of Team Liquid now, but they're only 3 up and they haven't got the best position to work with as the mortar strike lands down, takes down Luke 12. You got to imagine they're going to follow up with a whole lot more of them right now. 2 landing in rapid succession. Will they be able to connect and ruin the day for Team Liquid? Not just yet. Smokes are going down. Luke going to try and make a move for the revive, but there is so much pressure on Team Liquid right now.
The iron leaves of the tree providing just about enough cover for Luke. And can we get the res off? No, they can't. Andrew will get the kill confirmed. So Luke will now be cold hands, Luke, as he will have to wait and get ready for the next game. And Zeke team, they've got to move now. This Hong Shun position that they've been playing in alongside Rock for a while now is no longer compatible, no longer playable, and no longer a position that they can try to utilize to find the win. But the question is, where do they go from now? Rock, they were the first to move. They play for center of the circle, Chunks. They've got a rock and they've got a dip. And if they can hold back and Jacket team, they could be in the money. But there's a Panzer. It's sent on over, but Chunks, it doesn't get a knock.
And look at this, Balefrost does. He's third-partying over on towards Rock right now. The Soul's getting finished off. It's nades landing left, right, and center. The vehicle flips over, takes down Selfish, and that's the end of In Check. Bizzler, the solo for LG, remaining inside of the shack, able to finish off the job, getting kills on the board. But where did Toyo go? It looked for a second like they wanted to head for the shack, but no, they're heading straight over the hillside, deciding to play the dips just over to the east of Empire Gaming, who want to get involved themselves. BL falls, it's Mirror, fakes in, who gets the final kill onto that team. 6th place, we make it into the top 5. Balefrost, he spotted out one of the Toyo players moving in, decides to move back, knows that the nades are going to start landing through, but he's prepping some of his own. Purdy Curdy still standing here for Team Liquid, facing more explosive damage coming through from Team Mirror.
Yeah, and that's amazing by Mira. They realized that one of their real competitors for top spot is Liquid, and once they got the knock, they tried to wipe them out. Now, Michael did get the kill on the other side, but he's got to turn tail because Toyo have rolled on up on this battle with Empire. Now, Faravero steps inside the fire and flames, but he finds out that the ground is just a little bit too hot for him to handle, as Emmy will peek through. Michael, though, the ghillie in the mist, will peek through the edge of that smoke because it's not going to dissipate for quite a while. And that's Bizzler putting some heat onto Emmy. And that buys Michael just a fraction of time. But Chunks, you gotta wonder how much longer they can survive. And because if you look at the circle, this compound has so much strength in the short term. But long term, if Mira can get to the other side of the road and lock that down, they get themselves such a good position for this win. But before they can even do that, they got to deal with the Bizzler. Michael, he comes under heavy fire here, Chunks, but he steps out through the mist and he's going to go prone.
Smokes landing through, providing him cover, and that gets him into the top 3 as Bizzler goes down. That's LG eliminated down in 4th. Somehow Michael's still surviving with the odds stacked against him. And Mirror, are they going to crash onto this? It certainly looks like they're rotating nearby. And yes, they are. Toyo, they're going to have to switch up their attention. Now in a very difficult position. Pinch between Team Mirror on one side, and Michael's still surviving out in the smokes, laying prone. Fakes in, he gets the opening knock over on towards Emmy as the rest of Mirror are in the compound. Michael finally spotted out by Kawazine at long range. He is in a very tricky spot. Banner, he's flanking around to try and catch one more from Team Toyo Esports. Benya still just laying prone, hoping not to get spotted out. LFP, though, he has a good read, throws the nade, and it connects. That leaves Toyo in a horrible position with only one player left standing.
Man, Mira's macro decision making in this map has been phenomenal. They pushed up. I said if they can get to the road, but they've realized the other 2 teams are in the compound, so all you gotta do is surround it on all sides and you'll take the win. Capitan and now the final player standing for his team. And will he go down with the ship, or will he run into the blue and deny? Well, he confirms his kill onto Fixin. That's the first thing he's going to do. He's going to pop that first aid on the other side of the wall now, but I think that his number is up. LFP knows exactly where he is. He sprints up, he pushes around the rock, but Kawazine is the man once more. 18 points for Team Mira. It's a win. It increases that gap over Alcudsia, over Liquid, over Rock, and gives them a bit more grip on that Super Cup prize pool. And, you know, I just can't get over how much this team improves week over week.
Absolutely, but a player who has been around for a while and is consistently showing up has to be my player of the game right there. It's Michael. What a way to survive. Team Mirror really causing a problem there for Toyo Esports. Unfortunately, they managed to take down Michael as well, so he only managed to get himself into 3rd place. But honestly, that game was such a slow burn at the beginning. A lot of scrappy DMR engagements, but it was such an open end game that, yeah, it was bound to be a bloodbath. So many fights kicking off at once. Michael, again, making it into 3rd place, but credit to Capitan for going down with a fight. He could have denied the points, but decided to try and take the engagement, and Team Mirror, 8 kills and a win. Absolutely huge from them. Yet again, just stacking up those points. We said going into the weekend they would be a favorite, and they are certainly delivering.
Yeah, and what was I saying? It was another 3-point gap overall, Kudzi, or something, or was it 2? It is a lot more than that now after that win. Toyo put themselves back into the mix for the top 4. LG the same, another good performance by them, closing that gap onto the top 4, but it is all about Mira and the way that they are just plying this lobby to the way they want it to be. They're always in the top 4. Their survival time is through the roof. And look at this, Chunks. 15-point gap with just 5 maps to go. Yes, that is tiny in the grand scale of things, but every single time it looks like a team has reeled them in, they just managed to find that little bit more energy, that little bit more sprint speed to increase that gap.
Yeah, it is so impressive. I mean, Team Mirror, they are just consistently performing above and beyond everybody else. There is still a gap that can be closed. We've still got 5 games remaining, but only one of those is going to be this evening. That's going to be over on Erangel, and I can't wait to see whether Team Mirror can keep that momentum going, keep building the gap, or whether maybe one of those squads that are between 2nd all the way down to 5th can have a strong performance and get themselves back in the running.
Just a bunch of marauders, the way they're able to find those kills, Chunks, and the way they really put the work in on the lobby. But we are going to jump into our final break of the day. When we come back, it will be the green grass of home. It is Erangel to finish things up, and it is back right after this.
Welcome to the PUBG Players Tour. This year, we're introducing structured competitive play in third-person perspective mode for players of all ranks, levels, and ability. Here's how it works in EMEA and Americas. PUBG Players Tour competition is held in 2-week phases. Each week, you and your squad can compete in player scrims. Think of these as a great alternative to ranked play. Each day of scrims will feature a variety of maps, with defined team and lobby sizes to ensure a balanced best-of-3 rounds. Teams will earn points based on their performance, and daily leaderboards will track their progress. When the scrims are over, the top teams will qualify for the PUBG Players Tour Cups, where they will be joined by up to 10 invited teams, featuring some of the best players in the region. Players Cup leaderboards will track team performances across 2 days of play, with the top 8 squads progressing to the final round of competition. Players Masters are the pinnacle of the PUBG Players Tournament. 8 teams from each of the 2 cups will engage in fierce competition for a huge prize pool in each region across the PUBG Players Tour season. And for times when a Players Masters isn't scheduled, you can still get your PUBG Players Tour fix with Super Cups. These work just like Masters events, where again, 16 teams, 8 from each of the 2 previous Players Cups, compete for a share of the total cash prize pool. Welcome to the PUBG Players Tour. You know the game. Be a player.
Hey you, yes you, the one person watching this broadcast, right? I'm speaking directly to you. We are back for the final game of the night. My name is Gibson, that is Chunks, and we are going to talk you through what is going to be one of the best Erangels you've ever seen in your life.
It certainly will. I can guarantee it because the PUBG Players Tour has left so many surprises. There is one thing I need to point out. We have not had a military circle over on the Players Tour yet. Will we finally get one? I certainly hope so. We've had a lot of those split circles. We've ended in Primorsk a couple of times. We've ended over near Ferry Pier, but still no milli circle. So will we break the curse and finally see one?
I hope so. I like to see all sections of the map. If we don't get Millie, at least give us a Zarki or a Kameshki. You know, throw us a curveball in the mix because we all want something to get us going for the final game of the night. And Chunks, I suppose because it's the final game of the night, it's one more chance to do the plug. Because yes, we're getting paid $1 million every single time we plug the Masters. Yep.
Wait, you'll get paid?
Shh, it's fine. Don't worry about it. You didn't hear anything. If you want to take part in the PUBG Players Tour, if you're from the Americas, type !register in chat right now. As long as you're 8 or 16 plus, you can sign up to take part in the scrims, which will qualify you for the $20,000 Masters, which is coming up just after the Super Cup. If you're, of course, in another region like EMEA or inside of APAC, make sure to check the PUBG Esports website or the Reddit. That'll give you access to the links to sign up for those relative competitions as well. So yes, there is an event for everybody who wants to take part, provided you are 16 and over, and the majority of your team is based inside of the Americas. And Chunks, we've got 2 teams based inside of Ferry Pier, and it's rock, paper, scissors, punch as Breeborn rocks in with a pistol and somehow wins that for his side. What has just happened?
What is it with 55 and potentially dangerous hot dropping each other? We see it over on Tago. Now we're seeing it over on Erangel as well. And so far, it's potentially dangerous that are starting to come out on top of things. They should be able to get the revive unless 55 decide to send it into this building quickly. And it seems like they're playing it a little bit slower. They want that loot advantage, and they are actually going to be inside the circle. We've got a very split one yet again. Half milli, half regular island. So let's see where we end up. But right now, we'll stick on board with this fight as 55 mount their assault on this building. Potentially dangerous, looking to try and jump out the back of it. Try and catch one of them off guard, sorry.
Yeah, the nade's going to be ready to be thrown up on top of the balcony. Let's see if Psycho's arm is as good as it could be. Throws it, but it lands inside the corner. But Breeborn with the pistol is still there. Glock will do a ton of damage, but Kerak from afar will manage to get the knock with a mutant onto Slavy. Glock has no helmet. He's got no vest. Breeborn tries to make something happen with a pistol, but the Vector will scream out faster as it gets a ton of damage. And now it's Sam in that fight with Pavom, who is also low HP. Chunks, he'll pop a first aid. He waits for the cover to come to go for that res, and Kerak has a shotgun at the ready. But if Pavom finds the next knock, you never know what could happen.
Pavom not able to find it, caught with the shotgun, and 55 showing a little bit of disrespect there, shooting down at the dead body, saying, look, we've won one hot drop, we're gonna win a second, stay away from us tomorrow on Tago, please.
And now something I will point out is, we spoke about this at length, so we're not going to talk on the 55 roster change too much. They are, of course, the old Typhon roster, but they've released the fact that there's a couple of new America's partner teams that get that direct access to the PAS group stage. Now, the question that kind of poses to me, Chunks, is, one, does 55, the org, still have their spot? And two, does that mean that they're happy to hot drop this all event long because they know they're guaranteed to get the groups and PD have to fight all the way through? So for the likes of 55 Esports, they're more than content to get involved in these fights.
Yeah, I mean, it's hot drop practice, isn't it? For when those bigger events come around, when maybe more is on the line. But look at this. Everyone's seemingly playing the same position early on. We got 55, Team Casito, Team Mirror, and Team Liquid all within a kilometer of each other right now. It looks like Liquid, they're going to get caught with a couple of shots. They will rotate up to the north. for the time being. And I got to keep my eyes on Forever. If you guys haven't, just a reminder, make sure you do !map in chat. You can pull up that map stream alongside the regular stream. But Forever are currently down on Millie Island. They're the only team down there. So not only do they get kind of free reign of the island, they could also potentially be in a difficult position when it comes to rotating, because Team Casito are all set up at the crossroads in the gas station.
Chunks, is it bad that just the way that you said Forever right now just made me think of Papa Roach? As like, my brain is so weird. So I can't be the only one that likes that song as well. Come on, surely you know a lot about Papa Roach.
I know a little bit about them. That is one of the few topics that you finally not caught me out on here.
Oh, I haven't. So, like a lot of these players that are watching home, they just want to be loved, you know?
You tried too hard with the puns now.
It's my last resort. Come on.
Yeah, here we go. How many can you drop through this game? I wonder. It's we haven't got any gooners in the lobby right now, so we got to find something else to occupy our time.
Oh, you want me to start like randomly dropping the names of Papa Roach songs in over the rest of this map and see how many people can pick up on?
We'll see what you can do. I mean, we've dropped some kind of hints and references over the past couple of weeks. I'm surprised no one's picked us up on them just yet.
Yeah, I think I did get a DM from Jay Reed earlier asking me, did I mean a pun or not? And I'm like, Jay, I always mean a pun. I'm not going to lie. I always do. Like, I just want to.
It's a little Easter egg for anyone watching the stream, isn't it?
Yeah, how many awful puns and references is Gibson going to make over the course of a broadcast?
Don't turn it into a drinking game, or it'll be a very messy night.
Yeah, that is for sure. A team who've not had a messy night, as Al-Qudsi, though, is they've managed to climb the leaderboard. Not necessarily getting into that top spot at any point, but they do find themselves getting a little bit of drift now of Team Mira at the top. Now, 15 points is not insurmountable by any means. It's actually a gap that you can close in the matter of one game. And Liquid will also look to close that gap, and that one knock might just help them a little bit more. Benya will drive off into the distance as the scars of those first few shots will remain on Toyo for the rest of this map, as they will have to play for a 3.
But Toyo, they're not going to be safe just yet. There's still Mirror down to the south, so if Benya kept going, he would have been under a bit of a difficult position. Forever, they've actually decided to make an early rotate here, which they seem to be getting punished for, or maybe weren't expecting Team Casito to be in this position. They've lost the Dacia. There's Nubsky now going to post up, try and land some long-range shots, but if this goes down to the south, they're going to be kicking themselves.
Oh, 100%. But I want it. I want the chaos of a Southern shift. At this point in time, no teams have gone for that just yet. All these teams are banking on staying on the main part of the island. So we'll keep an eye on what happens. The Dirty Dozen will see JMS flee off to the distance as Bad Kevin will try to get some shots off. But JMS on low HP will regroup with the rest of his team as very JMS, Festo, and Sequencia will all pull up onto the other section. So a half a dozen for Zanganos and a half a dozen for Forever.
Forever trying to find an opening onto Crooksy. He could do a lot of damage in this current position, but he is completely pinned down at the moment. You can see the shots starting to land through as the smoke dissipates. You can see Nicholas also starting to close down the distance. Bran there for support. The nades land close, but not close enough to find any of that splash damage. Nicholas prepping that underhand nade. He spotted out Pandorito. This looks like it could be close, could potentially get the knock, but it's Slump who gets caught out just before Nubsky pops up and finds a bit of damage onto Nicholas. He gets himself the flush onto Slump, so only Pandorito left in this position.
Yeah, Pandorito, though, he can play inside this bowl as long as his other two teammates stay above. Now, Nicholas will try to peek once more, but you can see the shots from Nodski and Kev on the other side, just keeping enough pressure on. Now, the issue is the more noise that Nubski and Bad Kevin make, the more likelihood of Zanganos extending from their position and trying to find a knock of their own. Now, I'm actually surprised that Zanganos haven't made this move just yet, realizing that this fight has completely turned Forever's back the other way. And now with Team KZito trying to get an off angle, like if I'm Panadorito, I'm going prone and trying to stay hidden. But you can see that Brand's found another angle. There you go, Crooksy, with a great knock onto Bad Kevin. And surely, oh my, Crooksy, stop.
Krugsy is popping off right now, finding all of those forever players. Only going to be one left up now, running for cover. He's got to have heard those vehicles from Zangarnos pulling up. I'm not sure whether they're fully inside the compound or whether they're just playing the hillside off to the northeast. But either way, it's going to be a very difficult fight for Nubsky to try and get out of here, especially with Bran watching the angle. One more bullet would have finished the job, but it's not to be. If he has a nade, it would have changed things, but Bran not able to make anything happen. Throws down deployable cover. It looks like he wants to commit onto this push here.
Yeah, and why wouldn't you either? And Zanganos now, do they get aggressive or do they stay hidden? Do Team KZito extend too far? Or do they fall back to their potential bridge camp? Because in a few seconds' time, we will see if the cat is going to get thrown amongst the pigeons. A shift to the south would cause chaos, but it will remain on the north. And I'm going to say it, every single team in the lobby is just breathe a collective sigh of relief because they do not need to cross a bridge, they do not need to swim, they do not need to boatate, but they also know that the circle is very congested.
Yeah, everyone is going to be playing for this hillside right now. Furia, they've sent it in, got the opening knock onto D on the rotate. Will be able to flush that one out as well. No time to loot because they want to take this compound that Team Casito previously have. They put on a lot of pressure and Team Casito now being forced down to the south. Everyone is going to be looking towards Team Mirror's position though. That is the power play and I would expect them to get a hell of a lot of kills out of it as Roth finally able to trade one out onto Furia. Throws out the nade. It seems to be close to Possa, but it's actually stolen away by JMS from Zangarnos. It doesn't matter when you land a second one like that. Kraken gonna fall as Roth clicks his gun, realizes it's out of ammo, but the BZ nade, that's gonna do a lot of damage and probably gonna prevent the revive from coming through. No, Kraken got picked up.
Yeah, he's picked him up, and I think that Roth, having seen Cowboy get knocked, is going to fall back and prioritize getting the res of his own as well. So that knock has just done a lot of favors to Furia, but they've still got Team KZito sharing this crossroads with them. You've got Al-Qudsiya just behind. But the thing for Al-Qudsiya that they need to be wary of, Mira, the lobby leaders, are in the Navi compound, which is just north of their position. And if Mira realize that it is Al-Qudsiya and they see a knock, they might just send a couple of players out to clean up Al-Qudsiya, realizing that those kills are essentially 2-point kills. What I mean by 2 points is, yes, you get the point for the kill, but you also take a massive chunk out of Al-Qudsiya's ability to pick up points in the rest of the game as well.
Richie trying to land some of the rotation shots onto Empire. They've now sent it over towards Ferry Pier, which is surprisingly free. 55 Esports decided to move out of it. They've sent 2 players up to the north, playing that long ridge that goes across pretty much the whole of the southwestern area of the zone. But they've kept Sam Crow on the south, just playing as that solo, just going to cause problems for any teams that rotate through them.
Yeah, and Team KZito, they've just got to be... It's got to be patient, right? You're in this you're in the gas station. You've got angles all around you. If you stand in one spot for too long, teams will take shots at you. So just be patient. Wait, the opportunity will arise at some point to do real damage onto Furia or a team that will rotate past. Other teams that are in really good positions. Up on the Tempo compound, you've got Team Liquid. Yes, that is a throwback. A lot of people watching are going like, what? What's the Tempo compound? It's been a long time. It is the compound on the dirt road just south of the westernmost Pachinki Hill. So that is the Tempo compound by that dirt road. Some of these compounds, or some of these compound names, Chunks, go back way, or, you know, some of these teams and players have been out of the game longer than these calls have been a thing.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you are only just catching up on the names, you've got a lot of PUBG to catch up on. Episode 1 was a long time ago now. As there it is, Tempo compound being hard shifted out of, and wow, what a circle this is going to be. Half of it's water. I mean, I know we're in phase 3, but in reality, this is a phase 4 circle, at least.
Oh, easily. Like, all of this is unplayable. Now, the way the game works is that next circle could go here because this bridge is classed as playable land. So the center of the phase 4 shift has to be on land, and it has to be the majority land, so that is somewhere you can play. X marks the spot potentially for a hiding spot for a team if they did elect that they want to use it a little bit later on. BL Mount Calmo, he spots out the Bizzler, and the Bizzler almost uses some seat swap tech, but BL will use the M4 tech to deal with the Bizzler, and LG are down now to one player less. They've got, I think, 3 left open for Rock. With the circle shift that they've just been given, don't be surprised to see Rock, LG, Lucky, and even Liquid fighting these battles outside the blue, because you want to maximize the amount of points you can get.
In check, they're going to try and get some points by sending it early into Ferry Pier. 4 Adoras are already going to be inside of this position, just as Empire are up on the northeast. They're looking dead center right now, and Liquid, I'm really not sure how they approach this one. It looks like they're going to go far out to the west and rotate in. I've just noticed, by the way, Corito have pulled out the Boate of the century. I'm not even sure where they dropped, but they are only just getting into the play zone.
I saw them around Primo earlier, so I think they got the boat in Primo, and they've used it to sail onto the very edge of the pier. Now, if the circle hangs onto it, they can swim to the rock and stay by the rock out of trouble, and then they can swim to those 2 barns that are on that little island, so they're in a great spot. LG, though, they're trying to thread the needle now. Rello will see Snakers go by. You usually shoot for the final car on a rotate, but Cowboy will find that knock on the Gats. He is the team that's behind as they prey on it. Vox will fall as well. LG, with a really unfortunate rotate into the circle for them, will just have 1 player left alive. I think it is Snakers that is standing. He's going to try play inside the shack, and inside the Dirty Dozen, well, here come Rock. Chunks, take it away.
JMS, he throws out the nade. Surely he's going to know where Santastico is. He certainly does, but it isn't able to finish off the job as Rock now just sweeping through cautiously. They have an idea of where FS is going to be. RBN playing a little bit slower, not wanting to push through that window on his own. The rest of Rock, they've moved a little bit around the compound. They're not really in a position to engage, but now they will be as Santastico takes down JMS. There's only going to be FS left up. Sprays down onto RBN, catches a lot of damage, but also catches the attention of Santastico as he walks through that window. The Molotov lands, FS falls back, more sprays coming through, but he somehow survives it. Will he be able to get the med off? You've got to think he might just have time, and Rock, they are hungry for this kill.
And Sequencia, he will be of no impact on this fight because he has abandoned Festo. He has gone to the water, he has gone below the lighthouse, and he's left it all to Festo. Santastico, well, they say that Santa is watching all the time. Santa should have a good idea of where he is. The Sparking and Kurt and Halo will all combine with a good idea of where poor Benya was and remove him from the final map of the day. And with that, Toyo will bug out and find somewhere for them to play. And I like it. There we go. RBN, he pushes on up and Festo is dealt with. And now Zanganos have 1 player left alive.
But Rock, they've got a bit of a rotate to try and make. Speaking of which, Team Mirror are still in that compound with Alcudia looking down towards them. It's all powerful when that circle centers up over on the field, but right now they're going to have a very difficult rotate ahead of them. As Rock, they make a rotate of their own. Fury are trying to catch some fire onto them. Looks like they're going to be forced to play the same ridgeline that so many teams have committed to, but Cowboy makes it even more difficult by taken down RBN. The nade from Souls lands close, tags him with a little bit of damage, but it's not enough to get the knock, as now Furia, they're going to start flexing out of this compound by the looks of things. They want to try and third party, get themselves some kill points, and somehow Mirror, they've used this opportunity of Alcudia getting distracted to not only get out of their compound, but get involved in this fight and put Alcudia in a bit of a pinch.
And it is just such good game sense again from Mira trying to take control of the lobby. Now Haven will get 1. Cowboy actually ran over Souls in the mix of all that action, but Alcudia now are all down to Cowboy. He's going to go prone. A good nade will drop, and you see a ton of damage being dealt as Fakeson will confirm out another kill. 3 now for Mira as they really look to garner control of this lobby, of this leaderboard, of this map. But a lot of teams still on this northeastern side. Cowboy will get his kill confirmed. Santa begins moving on up, and Cowboy should be able to hear the footsteps, and Cowboy with the blue right there might just stay in the blue as long as he possibly can, and Santa in the 1 versus 1 is going to look to win the battle. He wraps around smoke. Oh, he's playing the tree. This is so clever. Uses the tree to wrap around, but Chunks Cowboy is in the smoke. Just spray, Santa. Just spray. There you go. Santa gets the kill. And down go Alcudia. And now Mira can really start making that gap even bigger at the top.
The same being said for Rock, though. That was one of those kills that not only does it get you an extra point, it denies one of those top teams an extra point as well. So it's giving them a little bit more breathing room, but they've still got distance to close up. Santastico out in the blue. There's Mira, Furia, both up ahead of him. The circle, it's centered up over on Empire again. It's almost becoming a question of not if, but when a team decides to crash onto Empire, how they're going to be able to defend it, because you got to imagine it's not just going to be one squad that hops in the vehicles and makes the move.
Yeah, that glass compound, though, gives them, I would say, 360 views all around, but because of the high ground behind them, they've essentially got 180 angles on everything to the north, east, and west, so they can keep an eye on all those teams from the north. But like you said, Chunks, if you're getting crashed, that'll lead another team to third party. It will be incredible. Snakers, you can see his shack no longer inside the circle, so you feel like LG might just be about to see their game end. Rock with 4 kills on the board inside the blue. Oh my god, Snakers will find one. And will he be able to find even more damage? He confirms his kill on Defana, switching over to the MK. And Snakers will find Kizera as well. But Haven will be the one to deal the death blow onto Snakers. But he took a couple of players down with him.
It looked for a second like everyone was going to crash onto LG's position, but instead everyone is headed over towards Team Casito. There's only going to be LFP left up now for Team Mirror inside this compound. Sorry, it's Kawazine inside the compound up against... Sorry, both of them are alive inside the compound up against Team Casito. They just made a huge crash. They've lost 2 players on it, but they can put a lot of pressure now over on towards Team Casito. The nade comes through, but it doesn't quite land. Kawazine opens up the doorway, tries to land the spray. It's not going to be as Liquid. They've made a push as well over on towards Toyo Esports.
Yeah, Liquid, big nade from Kurt will get that knock, but inside the smoke you can see that Emmy is going to try to stick the hero res. Kraken will get inside the shack, but Alo peeks around the side and Michael will get that knock. So with that being the case now, Sparking, he's going to be working with his teammates. Luke gets the knock onto Capitan. After that res had been occurred, another nade will find a ton of damage onto Emmy as the Liquid util usage is on a point once more. But Chunks, they got to focus on either getting the res or deal with 55 who are pushing right on top of it.
I don't think they have the info. They're trying to fight up the hill as Luke 12 finally spots out Psycho and is able to return a little bit of fire. But right now, 55 Esports, they've just got such a strong ridgeline to be able to play. They don't have to expose themselves. They can gather the intel using that third person. Circle centers up. Empire still inside the zone. Same for Forador isn't in check. Corito, a team we haven't heard much out of this game, going to be forced to make a push.
Yeah, and look at that. The stun grenades are thrown. Sparking will find another knock, and it's Emmy. And finally, Team Liquid will deal with Toyo. They've got themselves back up to a 3. They didn't really lose any more than they could have, but that circle shift, Empire will have all eyes north. Another team with eyes, though, looking south this time. Oh my god, Gizera, what a nade that was, Chunks, and this could be a real opportunity for Furia now.
Haven looking to try and find an opening, almost just waiting for those smokes to dissipate, wondering how many Team Mirror have left to use, as they really need to push in this direction to get into the zone, and then they have to try and deal with Empire, but they are being slow with how they approach this one. Kuzera hopping into the UAZ, repositioning it, as Kawazine has been res. We know just how strong he can be as a player, but he fully meds up. Luke 12 now finds an opening onto 55 Esports. One more bullet will have done it, but they are sending it down this hillside now. I'm not sure where they're actually able to play. It looks like Karax has a position, but they are now just wide open to Team Liquid, who are going to be more than happy to take those 3 kills.
Yeah, I didn't see what they were trying to play there. I really didn't think that was on, but Mira still still in the fight. Kawazine with 3 kills. Focusing towards Haven. Gizera will peek this way as well, but Kawazine, you gotta focus on Haven. He's the one that can see your head, buddy, every single time you make the peek. And here's the blue. Kawazine steps on up. He needs covering fire from his teammate, but he's not going to get it. Kawazine falls. LFP, the last player up from Team Mira now. But Furia, they've used a lot of their util already. They don't have the nades that they need to deal with LFP, who's going to play behind the shield. Kawazine is body blocking the shield, and now LFP will happily go down fighting, or at least go down in the blue. Kraken gets the kill. Mira eliminated. 6 teams left alive.
Empire finally starting to pick up some kills in this game. They've had to stay quiet in this compound. They just haven't had the intel. No one has been exposing themselves, but now they take down Sparking. Purdy Curdy gonna go down to the blue. It leaves only Luke 12 left up. He took that position where he got the kills onto 55 Esports, so he has himself covered from pretty much all sides right now. For Adoras, they are now trying to defend up against Team Corito, the team that made the legendary boat rotation. Have now got themselves into placement points, but they're still one in an unknown position as Jedshot fires out a couple of bullets. Tharox is going to be looking over in this direction. Murillo is preoccupied trying to finish off Furia because they've lost MHP, and now in check they lose one as well. For Adoras just putting pressure on so many different teams, but they've still not been able to convert any of those knocks.
Yeah, Theros just waited a little too long as well, and what that's gone and done is allow Empire or Corito to get those reses off. Empire still inside the circle, but they're essentially the only team along with Liquid that can say that. But Liquid are down to just Luke, so they don't really have all too much of a foothold as they come under fire on that other side of the circle. You can see Michael. You can see exactly where Luke is. Luke will peek through the pixels. But if I'm Empire, I'm really happy with this position. Oh my god, here we go. Theros steps on up, manages to find one, fires towards Jedshot, throws the stun. Now stun push. You've got him stunned. Play aggressively. Here's the nade, lands at his feet, and Jedshot will dip into cover right now, and Theros sprinting the gap. And look at that, Foradora's deal with Corito.
Really nicely done from 4 Adoras, but they've only got 2 Adoras left up unless they can get Murillo back into things, which seems to be the case. Furia, they're starting to wrap around the compound. They've got the wall to work with, but now Empire, they're starting to get aggressive. They are moving out of their building, and they are sending Michael over this hillside, potentially going to cause a major headache here for Furia, because they're not really going to be expecting anyone to push in from this position, as 4 Adoras spraying out all around them. They just can't connect with anything. Daryl's goes down, is in check, finally opening up the fight before being traded out.
Yeah, and look at that. Murillo will find that knock. And now Infinite will look to find one of his own. And Jekka team playing behind the vehicle, but can Infinite's nade do the damage? It's going to soar through the sky, and it's perfect from Infinite. 2 members of a Jekka team fall to their knees. You've only got Selfish left alive, and living up to his name, he's getting out of dodge. Furia, though, they see the opportunity now to do some real damage. Infinite is prone on the balcony. Does he deny to blue, or does he try make a play? If you are Furia, you know exactly where he's going to be. He's going to give it up, but Kraken can catch him before he falls. And with that being the case now, Furia will be in with a chance. But look at that, just as I say it, they're going to see Kraken get knocked and flushed. Liquid dealt with as well, and Empire with all of the cards. It's a 4v2v2, but surely and Jekka team are really just a 1.
Empire starting to put in work. 3 kills on the board. And another knock to follow. It leaves 2 solos left up, looking to try and get revives, but that's not going to happen when you got Michael landing shots like that. Beautiful headshot over onto Selfish. It leaves only Furia left up. They managed to get the res, and they've got 11 kill points on the board to go with it. Really impressive performance from them right now, but Michael, he is closing down the distance. He's got a frag in hand, switches over to the Molotov, just clearing out that outer wall. Haven, he's caught with the headshot, but Gazira's there to trade it out quickly. Michael will fall as Furia making their final stand. They take down Poonage. Shimboy trades it, only going to be Gazira left up, and Shimboy, he just drops down prone. He's only got to smoke some work with a frag grenade would be massive in this scenario. I might just say that Fury are probably going to deny to zone unless they can get a bit more info or get the revive.
Yeah, and look at that. They're going to go for the revive, but that blue zone is creeping so quickly. This is going to be a res, and then Haven is going to be bait. He's not going to get a first aid off, so his job is to try to give an another denying. This is cold.
It's an extra point.
You get the res, and then you deny. You keep one away for Empire, but they managed to get the win. 14 points on the board, but that's 2 maps won by Empire in 2 days as they look to increase their share of the prize pool as well.
They might have won the game, but who was the points winner there? You got to think it's going to be Furia with the sheer number of kills they were able to get on the board. It might even just be a tie at the end of that one, but that was a messy zone for sure, just as we have seen throughout the Players Tour. I'm almost surprised that we got so many Southern shifts, and I mean, forever. You saw them go down there. They must have been kicking themselves after that rotate because they rotated early on. The Millie Island was in for such a long time. If they had left it a little bit later, they could have had a very different game to what they ended up having.
Yeah, it's actually like that's the thing. Every single decision a team makes over a game of PUBG impacts every other team in the lobby. The butterfly effect is no stronger in any game than it is inside of PUBG. Snakers, we saw that nice little stand from him inside the shack as he got an extra point for his team. Also had a big impact on what Mira were able to do for the rest of the day. But all in all, I think Mira, even though they didn't have a real big win over the course of today's maps, they've still extended their gap at the top chunks. They've still made it a little bit harder for the rest of the teams inside the lobby to get a win. And they've put themselves in a wonderful place going into tomorrow.
Absolutely. Empire, though, they managed to pick up the win. It was close for a second when they tried to push in. And I can see Michael complain in chat that all their kills got stolen. So we'll have to take a look over at the damage stats in a minute and see how they reflect the overall performance of Empire. But really strong from them to get the win. But ultimately, 13 kills on the board for Furia. That makes them the point winner for that game. 19 in total. And that is what we needed from them.
Yeah, Furia, they got 13 kills. Not all of them were their own knocks, but they also stopped that point from going to Empire as well at the very end of the game. So we could have seen Empire get many, many more. Liquid, they closed the gap at the top with 11, but that gap was not closed awfully that much because Mira were still able to pick up 7 of their own. And there you have it at the end of the day. 90 points for Mira. That is a 27 point gap over second spot with 4 games left to play. All they've got to do is hold their nerve tomorrow and they should be the champions. But on Sundays in PUBG, stranger things have happened.
I mean, we saw what happened last Super Cup, didn't we? I think it was Team Liquid or Al-Qudsi. One of them was basically surefire to win. We were like, oh yeah, there's no chance that anyone closes the gap. And then there ended up being like 2 points between first and second. So anything can happen tomorrow. Absolutely amazing performance, though, from Team Mirror. But let me just remind you, it's the top 8 that get a share of the prize pool. And look how close things are looking right now around that middle of the pack.
Yeah, the middle of the pack is where the prize money extends down to, and you've got Luminosity now with an 8-point gap over 9th. Yes, that math is correct this time, but you wanted to know about the damage and how many kills were stolen away. Well, Chunks Empire didn't make it into the top 5, so we can't give you the exact number. But look at Al-Qudsi. They've dealt nearly 10,000 damage over the course of 8 maps. They have been a menace around the lobby, but Liquid are still holding strong as your kill leaders.
It's close, though, for sure. It seems like Mira, they're the ones consistently making it to the end game. Maybe today, not being able to pick up quite as many kills, quite as much damage as we have seen over previous days. But let's take a look over the individual player stats and see whether Kawazine had another insane performance. And well, yeah, of course he did.
10 more kills on the day for Kawazine means that he is still 7 points ahead of everybody else. And yeah, let's give him most kills, let's give him most damage, let's give him the highest KDA at 5.33, but he is tied with another young gunner. There's actually 2 young gunners at the top. 3 if you include D. D, Cowboy, Kawazine, showing that these young ones are coming up and doing it. But at the same time, it's nice to see Luke, a more experienced head, throwing his weight about inside the lobby as well. 18 kills for him so far this weekend.
I should point out as well, we didn't see the damage stats for Empire in the team stats, so I was kind of thinking, oh, Michael's just coping a bit here. He clearly didn't get that many knocks, but no, he has put in work today. 2,812 damage over the course of 8 games, getting himself up into the top end of things. So really impressive performance, making some really good individual plays tonight. So hopefully Empire can start chaining those together going into tomorrow, because it will be hard to managed to close that gap in the space of 4 games, but they are still in the prize pool, so every point in their game, it's just a little bit more cash that they could potentially walk home with.
Yeah, you never know. We might see how far this team is able to go. I'm not wearing the jersey tonight because you don't wear the same clothes 2 days in a row, but massive shout out to Empire for winning the final game of the night, but it has been a pleasure. As always, if you want to tune into the action on EMEA, 6 p.m. GMT tomorrow, you'll see the conclusion of their Super Cup, and then 7 p.m. Eastern tomorrow, you can see everything kick off here inside of the Americas as well to find out who the Super Cup champion will be, who will take home the lion's share of that 5k prize pool. But Chunks, as always, it's been a pleasure. But usually I sign off, but I'm going to let you say the final goodbye to the broadcast for the night.
Yeah, see you all tomorrow, guys. It was a pleasure hanging out with you all. An amazing set of games, and still 4 more tomorrow. So see you all then.
What I would do for you. What I would do